looking back, that was when God was like, yo, that's your gift.
Yeah.
There it is. So it's not gonna be easy, but go after it. And that was it. There was no, and also I'm not gonna let New York break me. And my apartment now, I have a view of the Empire State Building, and I like insisted to my wife, wherever we live, I want that. And it's because I look at that now and I'm like, you didn't fucking break me. I swear to God, I look at it and I'm like, I got you. I got you. You didn't get me. Transparency. Kevin Hart, I think, or Charlemagne always says that we live in the age of transparency. Yeah. So, like, the more accessible you are, the better. But I just don't. There's got to be a buffer.
Oh yeah, there's got to be. Yeah. There's a book called Boundaries. We gotta figure out what the healthy boundaries are.
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw today that TikTok is getting sued by, I think there's 8 different state attorney generals. For the mental health, the whole mental health thing.
Yeah, because every time my wife was like, can I show you my TikToks? I want to jump up a fucking balcony.
You know what's crazy? I was talking to some old dudes, and I say old dudes like me, like 35 plus. Like, yeah, that's where I get all my news from. I'm like,
TikTok?
Yes.
TikTok?
Yeah, it's crazy. I believe it.
Yes.
I believe it.
I literally.
I'm like, is Anchor doing a dance?
Very smart.
Is he dancing while he's telling
they
you
do
about
a lot of things like, some of the grills, like a guy that does some development stuff with me. He says he gets so much more information off of TikTok as far as learning how to do, build things or in his shop doing stuff like off of TikTok instead of Instagram, instead of YouTube. Somehow.
So is it like, okay, hey, I'm going to do like the highlight deal and then I'm going to click the link and then I'm going to go find it? Because aren't they?
The algorithm it knows everything. It's like the sharpest algorithm. Somebody said it well. It's the apex predator of social media apps. Like it's better than all of them. And then I saw somebody try a method to get a baby to stop crying when you're holding the baby.
Yeah.
And he tried it from TikTok. He put the video on Instagram, but it worked. Like he just does. You can learn anything. It's crazy, and it will make its way to you. You don't have to seek it out.
Is there a limit though on the time limit?
They're going 10 minutes now, which might be too much, but they're going to go 10 minutes.
See, I was thinking it was
like the vines, right?
15 seconds.
Yeah. Now
you can't learn anything.
Now it's a minute, or now it's 3 minutes, and it's going 10.
Okay.
And nobody cares.
That's insanity.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that voice you hear, by the way, because we're rolling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Dude. We're real smooth with our intros and outros.
That voice you hear, that sexually.
Raw masculinity.
That's what I was saying.
Thank you.
There was.
I know people always say it about my voice.
That's strike 2 today, Ben. At lunch, he's putting his leg over mine underneath the booth. I'm like, hey,
you
Ben.
said you liked it.
Well, but no, not around other people. And then you start
You
talking
got a
about
strong ass
people.
thigh, dude. You can't let that thigh go to waste.
Dude, that neck.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing anybody said to me all month.
Don't do it. Don't get
Anyway,
it.
back to what I was saying.
Don't do it.
You look
That
like
voice
Broke Front
you-
Mountain.
That voice you hear for the third time
Go on.
is none other than Akaash Singh. You know him from the Flagrant 2 podcast. You know him from the tour. He's a touring comedian. He's been all over making the rounds.
Yep.
Thank you.
Get ready to laugh today.
Yeah.
Get ready to feel awkward today.
Quick story. So I feel like this is the day that our podcast has arrived. We've had like Mike Irvin and Aikman on, and we had Matt Frazier, and we had some guys. But today is the day that like we arrived. So here's a quick story. We had lunch before this at the Cowboys Club, and for those of you that are not like in the North Dallas area, it's like the Cowboys within their facility have this like exclusive member club. So we walk in, and obviously we're with Darren, who Ring of Honor, all-time leading tackler for the Cowboys. So we walk in, and then we walk out on the balcony, and so Akaash is out there, and a guy walks out with a tray of sunglasses. So Darren's getting the table set up for us inside because he's our errand boy, and we make him do everything for us.
I do.
So comes out. So this guy comes out with a tray of sunglasses, and he's like, "Akaash, man, hey, would you like a pair of glasses?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, thanks." And they're really good about service, but I'm like, how does he already know his name? Like, that's really good. And he's like, dude, I love your special. And at this time, Darren's walking back out.
I can't tell you how much it bothered me that you weren't there.
Well, but here's the rest of the story.
You really validated me in your eyes.
Here's the rest of the story.
Thank God you're telling the story,
Yes.
I actually, this is news to me, and I was out there.
He goes, Mr. Singh, like I loved your special. Like that was awesome. I was like, that's great. Well, Darren walks out and there's a no cell phone policy. So Darren walks out and he's on his cell phone and he looks over at Darren. And he goes, excuse me, mister, you need to put your cell phone away. So he knows Akaash and doesn't know who Darren is, who's a household name.
That's a damn lie. That was a lie. You fixed that one up. I was like, who the fuck? Why did I walk out with my cell phone?
Let's be honest. If you're younger than 40, you don't remember Darren ever playing football. So
I'm 37. I remember this guy.
You damn sure remember.
Hey, for real, when you said, hey, it was my first year watching football, was your rookie year, Darren kind of like stumbled back and he's like, damn, how old are you?
No, you know what
look
got
12.
Me? You know what got me? What got me was you knew he's a true fan.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned your name. He said, you said Tyler Klutz, and he was like,
yeah.
I know you. And I was like, fuck, that is a true fucking fan right there.
True
all the way
through and through.
and through.
I didn't remember any plays, but I knew I'd heard the name.
Oh, man. Here's the deal. My job, if you remembered the play, I did something wrong. It's like a long snapper. Kind of like my personality. The more I blend in, the better I'm doing my job.
How many episodes have you spent on Darren's teeth, by the way? Because I have, for an hour and a half, wanted to tell him how great his teeth were.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you know what? Got him clean today.
So we've got
Really?
Yeah,
It
this
shows,
morning,
buddy.
this morning, 8
I
a.m.,
honestly
dog.
used to think that on TV. I'm like, this guy got great teeth, dude. And now in person, this guy, there's not veneers?
Shine.
Yeah.
Those not veneers?
Yeah, these four out.
Oh, okay,
gonna
there you
say,
go.
Hell yeah.
I was gonna
You should
say.
have seen me beforehand. Snaggletooth. Chipped and the whole nine. I didn't wear a mouthpiece, man, in my time in playing in the NFL. I had to talk. I had to talk and communicate.
Yeah.
Did you get them done before you were finished playing?
After I got them done, man. When I walked out, this is a true story. When I walked out of the Cowboys and I was done, they asked me, what do you need to be fixed, right? Well, my wrist was broken. My wrist was all
Wrist was
busted up.
broke. My
Fingers
back-
were
my
all
back was broke.
So they fixed my fingers,
Yeah.
fixed my wrist, did a shoulder deal, and I was out the door, right? But when I walked out, I was like, you know what? My teeth were all cracked. I'm serious, man.
Yeah.
For the years, and I was like, I'm gonna get my teeth fixed.
Yo.
So was
Had
that
nothing to do with the
from-
Cowboys,
Was that
but
from
just-
the meth or was that from playing?
A little bit of crack, not meth. Black
Crack,
folks don't
okay,
do
you're
that.
right.
They don't
He
do
went
that.
white people's crack.
That's white people's crack.
Black folks
I saw
don't
that.
do
But
crack.
I saw that one. That was hilarious. That's white people's crack. That's a great show. If you don't know, you can look up Akaash on YouTube, and the stand up
dude.
is phenomenal.
Just be
You will
prepared,
die
'cause you're gonna
laughing.
get
Yeah.
lost.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Look, we've done however many of these episodes. I've never seen Darren this excited.
Yeah.
To have a guest.
I flew in because Darren DM'd me. I was like, are you fucking crazy? I'm not going to fly into Dallas for this?
And we need more brown folks in here. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Let's cut it.
We are the UN.
That's the reason why I'm so happy.
Tyler was like, you know how many years I spent as the only white guy in the locker room? I was like, no, I had
Yeah,
enough.
no shit. That's true. He was always the minority.
You say that because I can't say that.
I got you, dog. I got you. Hey, we right here, man.
And we're gonna go down that road.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a stand up and he talks about.
We're
just
the
that.
UN of podcasts, though. We got a black man, we got a man from South America, and we got an Irishman.
You're
on
South
the-
American?
Yeah. He's not
Where?
freaking
High
Come
class.
on now.
This
Come
guy
on.
rich,
Happily.
yo. What kind of rich family you from? Light skin ass.
Hey, hold
Okay,
on.
Blanco.
Yeah, hey, they
The opposite of
vacationed in
rich,
South
actually.
America. He just happened to be born there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Conceived there.
just by luck. I was born there.
They summered in.
Were you born there or conceived there?
I was born there.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Dual citizenship. Rio, Brazil.
Oh,
Rio de
okay.
Janeiro.
You speak Portuguese?
I don't.
No.
How embarrassing.
Hell no. He speaks
Hey,
Abilene.
look at him.
That's what
Of course he
Speaks
doesn't.
Abilene. Yeah, we left when I was 5, so I
Okay.
lost it all. Lost it all.
okay.
Used to, but lost it all.
You
It's
played
embarrassing.
football at ACU, right? At Abilene
did.
Christian. You couldn't have girls in your dorm after like 4
Dude.
p.m.
No. Not worse than that. Ever.
Yeah, y'all
No
weren't allowed
girls
to
allowed.
dance, something crazy
Every
like
other
that?
week you got visitation. Every other week. It's like
Yeah,
prison.
like prison.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with that is we're gonna send you when we leave this. We're gonna send you his rap video that he did at Abilene
I can't
Christian,
wait, dude.
talking
I
about
can't wait.
about chicks in the dorm
You
rooms at
think
Abilene.
Ja Rule and
Like a Christian
Puff
Greg
Daddy.
Olsen.
Ja Rule. You went to Ja Rule.
I'm on the Mount Rushmore of rappers. If
You
you
and
will.
Greg Olsen, the best football raps.
Marion.
Ray J. Yeah, the whole 9.
Ray J not really known for his rap tapes. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's known for different tapes.
I am. So
Yeah. Ray J's a superstar. Jeez.
That's the queen maker right there.
Hey, man, can we start the pod?
we already
But
did.
we've been rolling, man.
Can you
We've been
start?
rolling.
Lead us in, Ty. You've been bullshit.
That's it,
We
man. We
already
already
did.
talked
No,
about
no,
it.
you
I
did.
feel like y'all
Hey,
started.
he
to be honest
misses.
with you.
He misses.
No,
he
no,
misses
no.
some
You didn't
things
bring us
here
in,
and there.
Ty.
He's-
Bring us in
No,
correct.
we're already
You'll have to
brought
excuse
in.
my friend. He's a little slow.
No,
We've
no,
got-
you gotta bring
Podcast
us in,
started-
dog. No. Yeah, we know
Earlier.
that. But we gotta go back to the story. We gotta
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about your journey, man.
Okay, got
And
it.
so Ty,
Yeah.
you bring us in.
All right, thanks, man. So I'm just going to
There you
repeat
go.
exactly what he just said. Jeez. So if you are just joining now, 5.5 minutes into the podcast and missed all the comedy gold that has already happened, this is the One Shot podcast, and we have the pleasure, like I mentioned earlier, that you have already listened to, is we've
That was
arrived.
passive aggressive at you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, shot. But we don't.
That was his one
Hey,
shot. It was a
dude,
passive aggressive
Hey,
shot.
you think I'm going to take the all-time leading tackler head on? Passive aggressive, man.
What Darren doesn't
Big
understand about
backdoor
podcast.
guy.
What he doesn't understand about podcasts, this is not live.
That explains the thigh action.
You don't just randomly jump in. They know who we're talking to.
No, I know what we're talking to, but I want to hear the man's journey. Can we?
Okay.
Yes.
I'll bring it in.
Thank you.
Fuck it. Let
About
me
time
do
you
it.
pull your weight on this
Jesus
show.
Christ. All right. So Akaash.
Yes, sir.
We want to talk about your journey, man. We want to go
Beautiful.
back.
Let's
to
talk.
Where were you? What were the family dynamics? Where were you born, first of all?
I'm
then
born
where
and
were-
raised here.
in Dallas.
In Dallas, yeah. Baylor Hospital. And then we went to, I grew up in Plano in the suburbs. And then Frisco right before I graduated. And then I went to college an hour north of here in Austin College. So my whole roots
Are you a raccoon?
I was a raccoon,
You
dude.
were a raccoon?
Dude, I was there when they didn't have the first RA on it. Or the first RAC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's for real. It was just that. It is
Hey,
for real.
relax, dude. I didn't come up with a
know
nickname.
that.
I got real.
Cow. We got hot in this bitch all of a sudden.
Seriously, I'm sweating right now.
Darren immediately is like, we're moving our office. I am not supporting that.
Were they really?
Yeah, and it was like I remember laughing because it was 2002 I graduated high school. So Frisco at the time was very country, and I remember when they started, like people started coming in, they're like, "Yo, we can't be this anymore. You can't go by the nickname."
No.
And I didn't even know it was a racial term. So white people were like, people from Plano were like, "You're gonna go to that school?" And I was like, "What? What's the big deal?" And then now it's insane and hilarious. But when they changed it to raccoons, there was like legit protests. Like people were like, "This is you can't do this to us." And I was like, "Are you crazy?" They're going by the full name. Like
This is what you're choosing to argue?
they're making it not overtly racist. What is it?
And actually calling it by the proper name
Yeah.
of the animal.
Yeah,
The vicious, intimidating animal
I did not know
is the
this.
raccoon.
Oh, dude,
My
I got
eyes are open
tears.
right
yeah, I'm a raccoon, dude. I'm a fighting raccoon. I
would
used to just be
never-
fighting. You know what I mean?
Wow. And not one.
Yeah,
Not one
yeah.
brother up there.
Yeah,
either.
two.
Not one on the team. To call him that.
It's a different C word. There's a lot of them.
Explain. I don't know.
All
what you
right,
mean.
so graduated high school in
Yeah.
Frisco, Texas.
And I was pre-med in college. I was supposed to be a doctor because everybody wanted me to be one, but I wasn't good at it. Like I wasn't good at the science stuff, and it never even crossed my mind to be a comedian. But my senior or junior year of high school, my friend kind of planted the idea in my brain. He said a few times, we were in a biology and anatomy and physiology together. And he said, "You're not going to be a doctor. You're going to be a stand-up comedian, and I'm going to be your manager and take 10% of whatever you make." And I was like, that's funny, whatever. But the idea kind of started marinating a bit. And then a couple years later, freshman in college, he went to UNT, and he was like, "Yo, there's a coffee shop at UNT that has an open mic. You're going to do comedy. Get time together."
No way.
So I thought of a set in the shower. And in retrospect, I don't remember any of the jokes, but like it wasn't good. But I went there, a few friends came down, and it went well because it doesn't have to be good to get a good response, you know?
right.
So when it went well, my wife is so sick of me telling this story, but this is a moment I will never forget. You basically just have a script in your mind that you've memorized. And I would practice it in front of friends and they would laugh. So I was like, okay, this could do well. And I'm just doing the script in my head. And there were moments where the audience was laughing so hard I couldn't get to my next joke, my next line. So I'm panicking like, yo, they're laughing too hard. I can't say my next line. And then I remember the back of my mind, I was like, yo, they're laughing so hard I can't even get out the next line. This is the coolest feeling I've ever had. And I knew I felt like this room, like I control this room.
You felt the
and
energy in
they're
the
laughing. I
room.
felt the
Yeah.
energy. I felt the confidence. I felt the rush. I felt everything. And in that moment, and I didn't accept it for years, but in that moment, I knew what I wanted to do. And then I did comedy, that same set at my college. It went fine. Then I did a new set the next summer at the same coffee shop and bombed my ass off. Like hard, like got pulled off stage. Like more people came to see me expecting this thing.
Right.
And I ate it. And I remember I was like, I can't do it. It's over. And then for 2 years, I didn't get on stage. I didn't touch it. I never thought about it again. I thought about it. I was like, that's done. That's over. And then my friend had to do it again at our college. They asked me to do 20 minutes. And then I was like, yo, I could try to take 10 and see how it goes. And then that 10 went well. And I was like, I still didn't have the heart to do it, but I knew this is what I
How did you, after you lost, I mean, basically that's a loss, right? You treated
Big
that
loss,
as an L.
blowout loss.
How did you bounce back from that? Because I'm sure after that, your mind was telling you that you lost confidence.
Lost confidence. It's just not for me.
So what did you do to get that back, to even do 20 minutes? Just to even say yes to do it again?
I took 10 of his 20, but that took 2 years. That was the summer of my freshman year, and it was spring semester junior year before I got back on stage. Like, I didn't do it. It was out of my mind. And I still knew I wanted to do it, but I also didn't understand you are going to bomb for the rest of your career if you pursue this. And that's one nerve-wracking thing. Like, I'm doing a pop-up show here in June that whoever's listening knows now. Yeah. But I'm inviting y'all. But I could bomb on that show. And that's what sucks about having people come see you is they don't know this can just happen. It's like an off night. Like, if you're in the NBA, you're going to have an off night. Yeah. But everybody who sees you is like, oh, that's it. That's who he is.
So correct me if I'm wrong, though. It's the same show no matter where in the country you're going, right?
Well,
the same
I'm going to do different crowd work normally. Like, I'll almost always start with messing with the crowd. And depending on how much fun I'm having with that, that's how long I'm going to do that for the most part. And then I do my jokes, and I have however many jokes that I try to choose from. But you try to live in the moment and see where that takes you. Because you don't want it to be an inauthentic experience for these people.
Yeah. Sure.
You want it to be a night that's honest and real, and we're all living in this thing, and let's see where it takes us.
Right. So your buddy in high school, when he comes to you, your junior, senior year, he says, hey, you're going to be a comedian. What was it about your personality, your charisma that made him say, hey, that's what you're going to do?
That's a great question, Tyler. I know because I'm struggling to figure out an answer. I don't know. I was wild. I remember moving in 11th grade. I was only 20 minutes away from my old friends, but like, you're moving in 11th grade. That's like, I don't know these people. Yeah. They all got their friends. And then I remember saying at one point, I was like, oh, who gives a shit? I got my friends back home. Yeah. I still see them every weekend. So let me just be wild here. Let me just have fun. I don't care what these people think. And so slowly I would just get more and more like out there and like let the crazy stuff go. And then he was sitting next to me, so he saw that early on. And then he was like, this kid is going to be a stand-up.
What about your parents? What were they thinking?
They still don't like it.
No, at all?
My mom really is on board. But early on, she was not. And she will say she was, but she was not. She was like, Tommy Lee Jones was a doctor who then went into acting. You could do that.
Right.
And my dad jokes. He's like, I would still rather you be a doctor. And he's mostly joking, but he's like, I know it's dumb, but like, I'm an Indian dad. Like, right. And I'm not mad at that. At least he's honest.
So do you come from a traditional Indian family? Or?
Yeah. Very. Like, my dad is very traditional in the sense of like wanting us to be Indian, which is good for me. Because it's the only place... The whole world, there's no way in America, I've said this before, but there's no Indian American way to act. Black people have like a black culture in America that you can choose to be a part of or not, but it's there if you want it. White people, you just kind of get to exist, but you have all these, you can skate, you can be a country, there's all these little things where like I can find my tribe. There's nothing for Indians. There's an occupation, be an engineer, be a doctor, but that's it. So like, people sometimes will be like, why do you talk black? Because I'll use slang or rap shit or whatever I pick up. And it's like, okay, but tell me how to talk Indian and I'll do that. While speaking English, tell me what to do and I'll follow that script. So it's good because it's nice to be home and reminded that I am Indian. Yeah. And that's like my roots are in India. And it's at home I was always.
So at home, did you guys speak Urdu or did you?
Urdu is the Pakistani language.
Right.
We speak Hindi.
Yep.
And I didn't because my parents, they tried, but then the longer they're here, the more they get in the habit of speaking. Right. So my mom just talks to me in English without, like I'll ask her to speak Hindi and she won't. But I've had to make a conscious effort to practice. I swear to God, I would practice at the bodegas in New York City. There was a bodega across from the comedy club with two Nepali guys, and they learned Hindi through Bollywood movies. So I would just speak Hindi with these guys. I would go to Halal Card. If the guy spoke Hindi, I would speak Hindi with him. And I'm not great, but I'm conversational because I've just worked on it and worked on it and worked on it with like whoever I could.
Kind of like you in Mexico trying to talk to cabbies.
No, I love you.
Hey, amigo, El Barro, take me.
He just stays on the resort. He just stays.
Why would I do
He just stays on the resort. He didn't go in a cab.
Why would I take a cab?
Speaking of Los Ventanas,
drivers with me all weekend.
So what did your parents do for a living?
My dad was, I don't know, he did some fake job in Texas Instruments, and then he got laid off.
A fake job.
You know, it's mad fake jobs out there.
man.
Everybody's job is bullshit. At the end of the day, it's all nonsense. What
There's
do you do?
3 people that actually make calculators there, and that's it.
Dude, everybody else's job is literally a guy told me he's in real estate technology one time at a show. I was like, that's not a thing. That's not a job. That's not, I'm a real estate person or I work in IT. There's not a real estate technology. Most of your jobs are fake. My dad had one of those where you tell people and you pretend you give a fuck and you don't. Right? Like,
No, you're right.
is there a more boring conversation than what do you do 95% of the time? Interesting job. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Nah, real
Nobody wants to hear that
estate,
shit.
all jokes aside, real estate is something I'm interested in. There's ways to make money. There's ways to build wealth.
Dude, you already.
Yeah, you already threw us under the
you already
bus.
threw
Go
us under
ahead.
the bus. You're good.
I know, but
Our jobs are fake. We get it.
yeah, fair. My dad had one of those. And then he got laid off, and then he opened GNCs, the vitamin stores.
Yeah.
And ironically, I was very fat that whole time. But I was a real chubby kid, real ugly chubby kid. That's also probably
too, bro.
where I learned to be funny is you develop a personality because that's the only way.
Because you got to
people will.
defend yourself.
Yeah, you defend,
Yeah.
you diffuse situations. And I didn't even date really, but like just getting a girl to be interested, I knew there was only one way at the time. You know, so you learn to be funny through all these. You develop tools as a man, as a hunter. So that's how I learned to be funny. But when my dad opened the GNCs, those shut down eventually. We used to live right by the Star.
Okay,
We had to
yep.
sell that house because we lost the GNCs. And then I also think that freed me up in a way where it's like, look, you might not like my occupation, but the whole family's poor. So what pressure do I have?
Yeah.
So I can,
What about resilience? I mean, because seeing failure, right, in your dad and someone, and especially in Indian culture,
yeah.
right,
I saw
respecting.
that.
So how was that for you as a kid, especially in high school, seeing something like that happen?
I don't know. I'm sure it affected me. I'm a big therapy kid. I've been in therapy 6 years now, so I'm sure I've unpacked a lot of that stuff. But I know one thing about resilience, the only, like, God gives everybody gifts. Right. I really believe God gave me, I'm pretty good with words. Like I can put together a sentence and I'm fairly quick-witted, but the main thing he gave me is I don't quit. I do not like anything beating me. When I was pre-med in college, I didn't like it, but I'm going to finish 4 years. I'm not fucking stopping. Comedy, there were so many times where I could have quit, probably should have quit, but it's like, you will not break me. I don't care. You will not break me. I do not quit. That's not in my blood. And so that's the most important thing for me is like, and that's the thing I want to, whenever I have kids, I want to impart on them is you just try your best. And if you love it, don't quit and things will work out.
Yeah.
Were you always that mentality about quitting? Because that's how I am now. But back in growing up,
Always.
I quit everything.
Always. I hated quitting. I hated sitting with myself when I quit. And I don't know why. There's probably some reason, but like, I guess it was like, this is the only way I can win is just outlast everybody. That's what I have. That's the thing that I have that these people don't. I think I recognize that on some level relatively early.
Yeah.
You're gonna have something. That's a good thing. To
Yeah,
have.
and I could understand that too.
I mean, just look at the difference in the sperm that made you guys and the sperm that made me. I look like half of you.
Quit.
You're top 1% athletic skill on the face of the planet. Great looking guy, perfect teeth, drives me nuts. You played college ball. I'm just a kid who runs like a 7.4 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what
you
else
gotta be
can I
funny.
do? Now, funny and don't quit. These are the things.
Yeah, but that, you know what, man? I mean, all jokes aside, that's an intangible. That's something that spans across the board. Like, if you have that kind of mentality, man, that's what separates, like, good athletes. You just said, like, the 1% from everyone else. Like, there's a fucking dog in you.
Yeah.
That says, okay, you knocked me down. I may have failed. I may have got up on stage. You fucking booed me. All right, I'll take some time off, but I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's some, that quality is something. It's something that we always talk about on this show, on the One Shot Podcast, and we listen to people that tune into us, man. It's always about that next step. Like, fuck, you're going in life, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. And that's another thing I want to tell whenever I have kids. And I'm trying to tell my wife, like, learn to love failure. There is no failure. There is only learning. And every failure will always, if you have the right mentality about failure, you're only going to get further from it.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, and I think the no quit mentality and I'm not going to lose, right? You talk about the 1%. The reason they got there is because they developed a skill because they didn't quit.
Right.
You developed a skill of stand-up comedy and, harnessed your God-given abilities of quick-wittedness and communication. But the reason you're good is because you didn't quit.
Yeah.
And we're in a culture that, hey, squirrel, I'm going over there. Or, hey, I can make money doing this. Or I think that I'm happy doing that. And you never ever develop into what your potential is unless you quit or unless you don't quit. And I mean, you talk about the guys that are the elite, like the Bradys, right? He is by far not the most physically talented quarterback to ever play the game. Not even close.
Hottest, but not the most physically fit.
That's a good point. Best jawline, no
He's the
doubt.
Darren Woodson of quarterback.
That's a good point. The Darren Woodson teeth.
You see that? No, you see that
He's the Darren
combine.
Woodson veneers of quarterbacks.
You see that? I heard that.
I couldn't gas you up too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, switch it on that one.
Yeah, I can't.
But he wasn't that dude. But even Brady, like he comes in at the combine and you see his body, and I'm sure Brady was at the combine.
Yeah.
He's looking at everybody else like, God,
These are grown men. I look like a
He looked like
6'5",
Yeah, he's built like
5-year-old
me. What's
girl.
going on?
He looked like Akaash and I when we were in middle school.
So let's talk about, man. I've always been, curious to think if to be on stage, and people always say the number one fear is being on stage and actually speaking, right? But to be, and that's one thing. To be on stage and speak is one thing, and try to motivate people. But to be on stage and have to make people laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. I think it's never easy to just be around in a group and just have people laugh. But to be on stage now, it's just you against
just you.
Someone's you against them.
Yeah.
What does that feel like? What's that feeling like?
It's hard to describe what the feeling is like, but I knew I wanted to do it, and I know it was way more work than I ever realized it would be. And that's one thing I would say is it's not like it's a God-given thing that I can just go up there. I wish it was, and I was just naturally good at it. I was bad for years, and it takes a lot of years of work and like studying. I studied it the way you studied game film. There's a while I started comedy and I was doing pretty well, and then I remember I was like, I'm not actually saying what I want to say. I'm making these cute jokes and then try to squeeze in what I want to say into it. And then when I moved to New York after like a year and a half in LA, I started in LA. I was like, you know what? I just want to say what I want to say and then make that funny. And I bombed. I'm not even lying, for probably a year and a half straight. Just horrible show after horrible show. I don't know what kept me going. Again, I'm just not going to let it beat me. But then I literally got this idea from Andrew, but I would write down the first 5 minutes of every comedians that I liked and a bunch that I don't like. The first 5 minutes of their special. Transcribed every word, every facial expression, every hand gesture. I wrote all of it down, and every time they got a laugh, I figured out why did they get that laugh. Oh, wow. And so you start to learn there's a formula to comedy. So like when I write on stage, I'll be saying something to an audience member, and then my brain will be like, okay, you need to put a punchline here. You need to put an act out here. You need to put these things. And you just kind of learn the formula of it. And that seems daunting. But then you think about the hours you guys spent watching game film, and it's not that dissimilar.
Right.
It's just like you start off and you have this baseline that's probably not great at all, but then you work at it and work at it and work at it and polish.
So are you watching? I'm sorry, man. So are you watching yourself over and over again? Are you watching your own tape?
Yeah, I did. Now I don't as much. Now it's hard because just the bandwidth I have time-wise is tough. Because if I'm doing a weekend, I'm doing an hour 5 times, 4 or 5 times. So that's 5 hours. I have to rewatch everything, take notes on everything, and do podcasts, and do travel, and spend time with my wife. So it does get to be, I've gotten sloppy on that end. But I will go through or I'll like have somebody go through and be like, what's a new thing that I said that I could put on? Because now it's all social media. So what can I put out as a TikTok?
So you're having to go through your content.
Yeah, or even somebody will go through and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And I'll say, okay, it's TikTok. So you have to cut here and cut here and cut here. Or if it's YouTube, okay, make that a 3-minute clip and don't cut here, cut here, cut here. Like it's just you're overseeing so many different aspects of it.
I want to get back to the journey here in a second, but on this topic, does watching other people, and I'm sure it's individual and personality specific, but does that not mess you up?
Yeah, I'm so impressionable, especially. Like, I hang out with Andrew. I pick up things from Andrew. I hang out with another kid. I'll pick up things from him. I'm so impressionable. I try not to watch much other people stand up anymore. Because now it's like I want my voice. So I studied what made these guys funny and how funny works as much as I could. Now let's try to just watch me and then see what I can do. And develop my own voice.
I feel like it would be just very hard, that industry, because like one of the worst things you can be in the comedy industry is a joke stealer.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but if you watch other people, you're innately going to be picking up, and just kind of by we're storytellers, right?
Yeah.
So we hear a story, we tell a story, you know, and we let it pass through us. But that's got to be hard, because yeah, you can create your own stuff, but at some point somebody has told something similar to that, right? Yeah. How are you aware of that and conscious of it in when you're doing your writing or even ad-libbing on stage, which you talked about?
I have ad-lib stuff, and then I think when I was like 2 years in, I ad-libbed something that I knew was somebody else's, and I never did it again, and I talked to them afterward and apologized, but they were like, the guy was like, just tell the other comic that was on the show, and that's all I need, which was cool of him, but sometimes that's gonna happen, especially early on, because you're so nervous up there.
Yeah.
But now it's like, look, we can have the same. We could both talk about super coffee. What are you saying about it? I mean, it's not because you made a joke about it. Like if you're talking about the bottle, I can talk about what's inside. Everybody talks about airplane jokes, but if you have an airplane joke that I haven't heard, that's a new joke.
Yeah.
You have a different take on the airplane, that's a new joke. So to me, I don't worry as much about the topic as what you're saying, what's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And then if we have the same idea, I'll just talk to you about it and be like, hey man, I have this joke. I don't want you to think I stole it. And if they're like, yo, I've been doing this 10 years, I'll probably have to put it aside.
Yeah.
Or if that clip is online. A lot of times it's just who gets it online first. As a good
How do you
version of it.
find everything though? I mean,
You don't. Somebody got to talk to you, and you got to talk to somebody else.
Got it.
Donnell Rawlings and I had a joke that's super similar, and I've basically stopped doing it. I think I've done it like once in the past 6 years. But I talked to him. I was like, "Yo, man, I've been doing this joke long before I saw you do it. I just want you to know that if you." And he's like, "Dude, I don't care. Like that's a joke that I'm not that whatever."
He goes, "It sucks anyways. Please take it."
Basically, that's why I stopped doing it. He was like, "It's not that hard of a joke, man." And I was like, "All right, you're right. It's not that hard of a joke. You're right. You got that."
We're going to take a quick break and thank our partners, Sleep Number, and highlight a couple of things they're doing. Guys, these Sleep Number beds are unreal. The technology that they've created, the feedback that it gives you on your sleep. I've got the app opened up right here. They tell you things like your heart rate variability, your breathing rate, all these type metrics and feedback to give you so that you can improve your quality of sleep. They're all over the place. You can go and check yourself out, a Sleep Number store, wherever you live. Go to sleepnumber.com as well. They've got great resources on there. We just talked about this not too long ago. They have a whole blog section, all these articles, things that you can improve your health. Sleep Number is definitely changing the game when it comes to bedding. So get yourself to Sleep Number, get yourself to sleepnumber.com, and check them out. Now back to the episode. Take us back to college, though. So you had a great set your first time out.
Yeah.
Second one you bombed.
Best feeling on earth, worst feeling on earth.
Worst feeling on earth. Went back, did 10 minutes, did great again. So where'd you go from there?
So then I knew what I wanted to do, but still didn't admit it. I was a junior. I took the MCAT that summer to medical college admissions test. It was like an 8-hour test at the time.
I never knew
did all that.
Except, you're talking to us now. You guys,
I never knew what that stood for.
Yeah.
I've heard that phrase.
Admissions test. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, that's what
It is an 8-hour. It's just to wear you out. They literally put a writing section in there. They don't even care. Medical colleges don't care about it. It's just another hour of your time that they want you to be thinking.
Wow.
And so I did that whole thing. And then when I graduated, I knew what I wanted to do. But I had a year in between. I didn't do great my first 2 years of college. Like I said, I didn't really want to be a doctor. I didn't know how to work hard for something I didn't want to do. But I had a year off, and I was going to apply to this this hospital to get this job that could help me get into medical school or whatever. And my best friend was going out to LA. He was like, I want to be a cinematographer. I'm going out to LA. And so I kind of floated the idea to him. What if I just went out there with you for a year, saw what happened, saw how it was? And he said, absolutely, come through. My roommate from college wanted to be an actor and a musician as well. So I was like, yo, what if all three of us just went out there? And then he was down. And so I just asked my mom, and she said, I would rather even if you can't do it, than wonder for the rest of your life.
So she was supportive.
Great advice.
Yeah,
she was supportive at the time. Okay. She regretted it later. But I mean, to her credit, a lot of Indians, they're looking especially this is before Aziz. Russell was the only one. And they didn't even really know who Russell Peters was.
Right.
So they were like, this is crazy. What are you doing? Literally, she was told, you're a bad mom for letting him do this. You don't know you're messing up this kid's life. And then she sat there and took those bullets. And then luckily now it has worked out. And
I'm putting myself in their position because you're right. We have this dream for our son. He's going to be a doctor. He's going to be super successful.
Because it's safe.
Oh, he wants to move to LA and be a comedian.
But I mean, throw the layer on it. And really the culture, the Indian culture is even more so than that, right?
Yeah.
What we grew up with, hey, go to school, get a good job. It's it's loose, right?
Yeah.
It's we just want you to be successful and happy.
Right.
The white people, it's we just want you to do what you love.
Yeah. There's no happiness. Happiness never comes up in the Indian household.
Right.
Happiness is you have kids and they're doctors.
Yeah.
That's happiness.
Kids and their doctors.
That's
it.
At least one doctor and then one engineer, and you're happy.
Your parents are over too.
Yeah, for sure. Over 2, 100%. Yeah, that's on them.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, my brother right here. That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So you got your brother, just the two of you.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
in India, my parents at least raised me. They were like, you don't have cousins. Everybody's a brother and sister. So like I call him Bhaiya, which is what you call your older brother. But any older cousin that's a male, I'll say the same thing.
Okay.
Like, hey, Bhaiya, that's just a term. So we have 2 cousins that we grew up with a lot, spent a lot of time with. In my eyes, that's my brother and sister.
Got it.
They might say cousin, but I'm like, no. We're brother, sister. So I have one immediate family member, and then I have other cousins that I look
See,
at.
I have a sister that I just call cousin because I'm just kidding. Love you, Molly.
She'll love your ass.
So you move out to LA,
Yeah.
and just instant stardom, right? Everything fell into place.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
perfect.
absolutely.
It was
That's
perfect.
why I'm 37 and I'm just now getting here. You know what I mean? Now, it was a long road. LA was fun, but like I wasn't the comic I wanted to be. So I was making a little noise there as like a young kid that was going to be funny one day. And it's a smaller scene. Then I go to New York and it's a huge scene. And
Whoa. So LA is that small of a scene?
it's small enough comedy wise. Yeah. It's because people there to be actors or whatever.
Right.
Now social media stars. Back then, actors. And then comedy was what a lot of them would do just to like help them as an actor.
What year are we talking here? 2006?
2007, September 2006, I moved out there, and then I got a job, got settled. Probably February 07, I like really started stand up. Like really started.
So the move to New York was for comedy. Like
Yeah,
you
and
knew
then
that
all the
was-
veterans, specifically the black veterans, would always tell me you did this backward. You got to go to LA to get famous. You go to New York to get funny. And they would talk to me about New York, and you got to put in the hours, and you're going to do this kind of room, and you're going to learn this skill and that skill. And it was just like this whole romanticized idea. And I knew I wanted to be a great comic more than just famous.
Yeah.
Like I don't want style or I don't want like sizzle and no steak. I'm not Cowboys owner. So I was like,
You're a
don't
fan.
edit
You're a
that
fan.
out, guys.
You're a fan.
Don't edit
We're
that out.
editing that shit out.
Just so
Just, I'm not the Eagles.
But I was like, look, I want to be a great comedian above all else. I love guys like Patrice O'Neal, Bill Burr was coming up at the time, and I was like, that guy's the truth. That guy's it. Chris Rock is it. Dave Chappelle is it. Russell Peters is like doing it for us. I want to be one of those guys. So I went to New York, and I bombed for 2 years straight. Hard bombs. Like you're in nobody knows you. It's a massive scene. You can do the hood rooms. You can do the club rooms. You can try to stand outside and get people into comedy shows in the freezing cold. I did all of it. And I just tried to get in wherever I could fit in.
Why was it so, like, why being a comic though? Like at that point, what did it turn into you in your mind? Like, why did you want to do that so bad?
It was when that moment, that coffee shop, I knew this is it. This is and I remember even before that saying to my college roommate, we're talking just late night, and I'm like, yo, if all I get out of college is figuring out what my gift is, I'll be happy.
Worth it, yeah.
And then I look back now, and I forget about that moment all the time, but looking back, that was when God was like, yo, that's your gift.
Yeah.
There it is. So it's not gonna be easy, but go after it. And that was it. There was no, and also I'm not gonna let New York break me. And my apartment now, I have a view of the Empire State Building, and I like insisted to my wife, wherever we live, I want that. And it's because I look at that now and I'm like, you didn't fucking break me. I swear to God, I look at it and I'm like, I got you. I got you. You didn't get me.
Yeah, looking back now, I can understand, nothing was going to make me stop. But in the moment when you were bombing night after night and things weren't going good, was there any doubt at any point?
There's constant doubt.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of why am I doing this? But I could never bring myself to quit. I just don't like doing it. Even now, like now I'm 38, so I got to listen to my body, 38 in a couple months. But like if we were playing sports or working out, like I'll just get hurt. I don't want to stop. I'll get hurt and I won't work out for 3 weeks, a month. It'll be like a really dumb decision, but I don't like the idea that even this workout could beat me. I don't want to quit this thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you're in New York. So you're in New York City, and I know you're going back and forth. And you're like you said, you're bombing through situations. Is there anyone that's in the industry that's mentoring you or saying,
Nobody.
"Hey, man, look, don't worry about it."
Andrew is the closest I had to a mentor, and we were both kind of shunned by the industry because there's a thing Hollywood is trying to do. And I understand what they're trying to go for, but like the diversity play, but like how they know diversity to be. Like, let's just get like one color of every face on a show.
Right.
Let's just make it look different. But they're actually telling your story. We don't really want that. And I wasn't into all of that. I didn't. And there's like a certain like we make white people feel guilty about everything. And it's like, look, it feels like bullying at a certain point. And I don't like bullying, period. So even if we're bullying the guys that did all the bullying, I don't like that. You're not any better than them.
Yeah.
So I didn't ever really want to do that. And we talked about the joke I have in my special where it's like, I don't believe in white male privilege.
Let's go there. Let's go there about white male privilege. A joke. How did that come about?
Because in New York, it's so much liberal. Like I grew up in Texas, and there's a lot of extreme conservatives. We know them for sure. And you're listening to them, and you're like, y'all are fucking crazy, man. Y'all are dumb, and y'all are crazy. And that kind of pushed me more liberal. Then I went to LA and New York and saw the same thing on the liberal side. A lot of, oh, you're white, you're a male, your life is automatically good. And it's like, yo, have you been to middle America? You shit on it all the time. Have you actually seen what the white people there are going through? Because it's not that great. So I'm not going to tell a white person just because you're white and you're a male, your life is good. Now, there are privileges you have. Even though he's the most rich and famous one here, I assume if you're getting pulled over by the cops, one of y'all is talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm hiding in the back.
Yeah.
My hands are behind my back. I'm like, shit.
Hey, excuse me, sir. Hey, are you okay? Is this your vehicle?
So there are privileges, but I think if we had that discussion, which is, there are, somebody said it well. Andrew used to write these pieces, and then this other guy that's on our podcast, Mark, said something like, the term white privilege is weird to me because it's actually just black people are getting fucked over in certain ways. So instead of calling it white privilege, why don't we just say white people have the rights that black people should have also? And that was a good way of putting it. And I think that's better than telling every white person, hey, you're lucky, you're privileged, because privilege says you don't have struggle. Right. Privilege automatically in the definition is you don't have struggle. We take struggle out of your life. And that for anybody who's actually struggling is like, yo, fuck you, man. Yeah. That's not true. Now, if you say, hey, guys, you understand that there's systemic racism that affects black Americans, et cetera, they might zone out, but they're not going to get angry. Right. They might be like, come on, but they're not going to get mad, even no matter how resistant they are.
Don't say that around these two, man. I've been holding their ass. I've been making them feel guilty for the fucking longest. You're the reason why. And they're like, oh, I know. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Yeah. So now you bring this shit out.
We'll name the podcast after you. It's totally fine.
No, but I saw minorities doing that, and I was like, yo, you don't even seem to care about like having actual jokes as like a comic. You just want white people to feel bad, and then they'll clap for you, and you're doing that in lieu of having actual talent. And then when I saw Indians doing it, I was like, we're just hopping on a struggle that's not even ours. Like Indians in this country, you're probably actually from a pretty privileged country, family in India, first of all.
But Indians in India, completely different story.
Yes, Indians here, you're lucky as fuck to be here, and you know that. Yeah. Don't try to do this. Yeah. So that's where a lot of my comedy is like reactionary toward the loudest, most annoying voices around. I think that's a lot of stand-up in general. Sure. But that's something that's always made me the most annoyed my entire life. Like my brother will tell you, when I was complaining about liberals, he's like, what's going on? And I was just complaining about the loud people in New York and LA. Like, y'all are idiots. And it gets an actual emotion out of me. So that white privilege bit came from the emotion of like, what are y'all doing? Do you think it's like, first of all, every white guy is just being told he's a piece of shit everywhere he goes in New York. And he's like literally apologizing for being white. And to me, actual pride doesn't want that. I don't want your pandering. I don't want your fucking pity. I don't want that. I have too much pride for that. So I was like, this is bothering me, and that's a joke. That's why I expressed it that way.
That's what I love, though, about comedy, because comedy traditionally, and I think it's getting harder and harder, and I want to talk about that right now, or in a minute, but comedy is you can have those conversations under the umbrella of comedy. Oh, it's comedy. You can speak truth more so on stage in a comedy setting. And to me, there's so much more wisdom that comes out on that stage because like Dave Chappelle's one of those guys, like right now, right? Yeah. He says it, but it's comedy. You know, I mean, he gets attacked and he gets more so now, but I love that. Look, real conversations could be had under the context of a stand-up, comedy bit. Yeah. And there's truth in it. And there's a lot, I mean, they always say, right, there's truth behind every joke. Right. I don't know what your opinion on that is.
I think it's true, but it also has to be funny. You can't lose sight of, I'm here to be funny. Yeah. If you forget to be funny, get the fuck off that stage or work on that. Like, I have these emotions that I'll bring out on stage, but that doesn't mean it's funny yet. If it's not funny, I can't put it online or let the masses, quote unquote, see it because it's not funny. It has to be funny. If that joke about white male privilege I love how provocative it is. I love saying things that I know people are going to disagree with and then trying to make them laugh anyway. But if I don't make you laugh, then I'm just saying crazy things. Yeah. If I'm doing social messaging about, white male privilege is a problem and I'm not making you laugh, then I'm just preaching. Yeah. I'm a comedian at the end of the day. Comedy has to be the core of what I do. Yeah. I can't lose sight of that.
See, that's That's perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Is I understand who like football players. A lot of times it's like, hey, we've got to remember the fact that we play football. Yeah. Like that is why you follow us. Yes. Like we may have personalities, we may have value that we can add. And I think that, what you do, what we did, what Ben watched us do.
Don't let him ride with that one, man. Don't let him ride with that
platform.
Can we be honest? You were probably watching a lot with a jersey on.
hey, a jersey and no underwear. Just a jersey.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Like I said, I don't like bullying. I just let's call the spade the spade.
You want to hang out here more often?
You call me? You call me? Somebody tell me?
He says.
What did you? Wait a minute. Did you just?
Don't judge me about my high school. I was talking about him, so thank God. Jesus Christ, that would have been uncomfortable.
We got sensitive over here all of a sudden.
Can you imagine if I was saying that about you? I was like, fucking, what a fortunate turn of events ever. Talking to the whitest guy here, thank God.
The whitest guy here.
Just based off sheer hue. He's the whitest,
Hey, Akaash, I'm sorry for saying that. I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry.
Apology accepted.
Hey, Akaash, if you want to be the third host of the One Shot Podcast.
Oh, my God. Man, I can't stop.
I don't even know what we were saying. That was
man, yeah. I can't remember either. But I think it's, we've got a platform. There's great that we can do. But having the perspective of, hey, look, this is what my position is. This is what my role is.
Yep.
My role as a comedian, I've got to be funny. If I'm not funny, then it's kind of hard to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Football players, same deal. Like, hey, we are football players. Let's try not to be, because we've spent all of our time being experts in football players. It's really hard to be experts in other things. And when you present yourself as an expert in another field, it's hard.
Yeah, I think you should definitely shut up and dribble. I don't like
that either.
But also understand you have an opinion. You're allowed to be an activist, but you're not an expert.
Yes.
That's the only thing that annoys me about Kyrie Irving is you're not an expert in these things because you've read some articles online.
Yeah.
Talk by all means, talk that shit. But you're not a scientist.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What do you think, D?
No, dude, I was too damn tired of laughing. My stomach hurts, man.
All right, so okay,
I do want to go. Yeah, I want to go back to
to New York. So when you go to New York, was that the time where you realized, hey, look, I'm not gonna just say things just to be funny. I want to be more true, more transparent, more authentic. Yeah. Was that the New York that you said, okay, hey, it bombed for a couple of years? Was that New York stint?
Yes, that was a transition, and I was doing. Also, there was other basic things I didn't do. Like when I would do these hood rooms, they would always bring me up.
What's a hood room? I'm sorry.
It's like legitimately you're doing a restaurant. There was a restaurant called Cafe Lou's off a 20-minute walk off the last stop of the 5 train on the Bronx. And it's on a road called Gun Hill Road. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
And I'm traveling 2 hours to get there because I didn't want to do the thing where I stood outside to get people into the show. Right. And they'll always give you time in the hood room. But they would they have a DJ every show, every time for a year. It was 2008. They brought me up on stage to A-Rap money. Every time.
Was that on you or was that on them?
I never asked for it.
Why did you tell them the fucking
every time on stage?
You shitting me? That motherfucker used to hit though, didn't it?
Son, it was a slap. That shit slapped. That song was the worst part of it. Is I'm getting brought up to a fucking banger of racism.
Bobbing my head on the way out.
I gotta suppress I gotta pretend I'm angry. Right. But it was just, what I realized is they just want to acknowledge that you don't look like anybody they've seen doing comedy ever, especially back then. Mm-hmm. So what I would refuse to acknowledge my race, and then I'll go up there and try new jokes, and it's you haven't, kind of like I was saying earlier. That's probably why I remember comedies at the core, because I used to go bomb at these rooms, not being funny. I would have the idea and it would be salacious or whatever, but it's not funny yet. Mm. And also I learned when I watched other comics, every minority in some way acknowledged that their race. Mm. Dave Chappelle, Killing Them Softly opens with DC is different. It's a lot of black people walking around. And it's just, there's one way to acknowledge my race. Chris Rock, DC, Chocolate City, Bring the Pain. Right. He's acknowledging his race. Patrice O'Neal, who I think is brilliant, came out and was he sees a black guy with a white girl, and he's you got yourself a high-level white woman. And then he says, how black guys judge white women, and he acknowledges his race. So, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging. It's just addressing the elephant in the room, which is ironically the name of a Patrice special. But, I'm just addressing, you guys haven't seen a guy like me doing comedy. So let's just put everybody And the way I realized it, it was like I saw people doing like comedy in like wheelchairs that would never talk about the wheelchair. And I was like, bro, this is the thing I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Talk about you being fucking in a wheelchair. And that's how they felt about me. Like, I've never seen people like you doing stand-up. I probably haven't seen people like you, period, outside of the bodega. So tell me something about you. And I don't resent it nearly as much. Then I resented it, and now I'm like, oh, I was the asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that also helped my perspective a lot. I think comedy can help your perspective because you're going everywhere and doing so many different shows all over the world.
But that's what they meant, like, get funny in New York, get famous in LA. Like, you got to learn that about yourself.
Yeah, LA, I'm talking to people who want to be actors. They're fucking idiots.
That's a good point.
Dude, I've never respected an actor in my life. You're fucking idiots. You know what I mean? Like, you're all activists, and you don't even say your own words in a movie. Like, write a script before you write a speech for the acceptance, for the Oscar acceptance.
Shots fired.
I don't know.
Do we have
that's
actor
truth,
friends?
though. That's true.
If any of you guys are actors, you're retards. I'm sorry you're retarded. I'm sorry I don't respect you a single ounce in my body, mind, or spirit.
He's looking deep into their soul, too.
I don't know which camera is mine.
Both of them. Just look at
Perfect.
From a practicality standpoint, though.
They're really dumb. It's crazy, right? They just have no practical purpose.
Practically.
That's true. That's true.
Just
But New
absent.
York City, I'm sitting here thinking the whole time, New York's not a cheap place to, like, what are you doing
I was
for
poor as
money?
shit, dude.
What do you do?
I think so my mom floated me a little bit for a couple of months. There was a time when none of us had jobs in my family. Like, all of us were unemployed. I don't know how we made it through that, to be honest. My brother was right here. He was between jobs. My mom was between jobs. My dad was between jobs. I wasn't working. I was doing comedy. And then my mom still had money to like give me a little bit every month. But I was spending $400 a month on rent, or $325 a month on rent. I had a mattress that I got for free.
Whoa. How many roommates?
I had it was a 1 bedroom with 2 roommates. So they turned the living room. It was these like Korean, probably illegal immigrant landlords. They had a wall in the living room. I'm not saying that because they're Korean. I'm saying it because they're illegal immigrants. But they had a wall in the living room, and instead of like actual drywall, like what over there, it was just bathroom tile. So my bedroom was bathroom tile, and to get to the middle bedroom, you had to walk through my room from the kitchen. Anytime you want to go to the bathroom, you had to walk through my room. And that middle roommate was a drunk, pathological liar. Came home at like 3 a.m. Never sober, stumbling through my room, never had rent, always getting yelled at by the landlord. I had 1 mattress on the floor, mice running by my face all night. It was miserable.
This is straight movie type stuff.
It is awful. And that's when I realized like being poor in New York is like, it's not even like America, it feels like. It's just a different existence.
Oh my.
Where in New
Poor
York
in Dallas
was
is
it?
warm.
Yeah.
I lived in Harlem, and then I lived in Bushwick, both of which have now gentrified.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but that's where I stayed for like 6-7 years.
Did you have like a day job or?
I had little day jobs here and there. I did taxes at H&R Block for a couple months, and then I quit on April 1st, right when taxes were about to get crazy. I was like, I'm out. I got it.
Wait, so
they wanted me to be like a
manager.
manager.
Right on the
Taxes,
wall.
you quit your tax job?
Yeah, right when people started really getting into taxes, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me.
What gave it away?
I got a pilot that I wanted to film, and it was going to pay me as much as the H&R job, block, whatever would pay me. So I was like, well, let me just focus on the pilot. And that was supposed to get picked up, and it didn't. And there's a lot of those in this business. Hey, this is supposed to go somewhere, and it's not.
Yeah.
And that's where you also have to learn. Thank God I have this podcast. It's a steady thing now, so I never have to rely on that again. Now, if it comes, it's gravy, but I'm not I'm banking on it ever.
All right. So you said 13 years total in New York. So what was that progression, to doing the hood rooms to, all right, now I'm starting to get some notoriety. I'm getting better. I'm getting laughs. And then what is that growth stage? And when did you recognize that you were in it? Or was it looking back and like, okay.
You know what's weird is in the last year, I probably feel like I've hit like a level
No
where like
shit.
other comics are like,
Just
this
now.
guy. Yeah. And so a lot of it, everybody's path is different. So for me, I did these hood rooms. I wasn't enjoying it. I was bombing all the time. I didn't have real friends there. And then I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast or off the podcast, but Andrew Schultz and I had met him doing one of those hood rooms in Brooklyn. And he and I really connected, but I didn't see him that often. He was at this place called the Village Lantern where they would bark, stand outside no matter what the weather is, try to get people downstairs in a dark basement to do comedy. And if they got 5 people, they did a show for those people. And then they'd keep bringing people in throughout the show.
Wait, so you stand outside, you
Yes.
try to bring people in, and then you're on stage,
and then
for
they
those
see me
people.
doing comedy an hour
my
later.
God.
So,
Yeah.
so do you get a percentage of tickets that they bought?
Free show.
Oh, it's all free.
Oh, it's a
I made
free
no
show.
money. We would pass around a tip bucket, and that was what I would live off of, like meal wise.
So what's the strategy? I'm intrigued what the strategy is
Oh God!
on the street trying to get people in.
So it's in the village. So mad people walk by, and hey guys, we got a free comedy show right downstairs. If you want to check it out.
Dude, I've done that. I've walked by a lot of that
Yeah.
before in
Never,
the city all the time.
It's almost never a good show. Don't ever believe it. They'll tell you Seinfeld is coming. Seinfeld hates that place and would set it on fire. I don't know Seinfeld, but I know this. But our show we're not charging you ticket prices. So and I truly felt everybody was funny. So the first couple people that come down are the hardest to get them to stay because they have to trust everything. Like there's nobody else there. It's a dark basement. And I would say, and this was true, I would always try to be as truthful as I could. I'd say, look, everybody's been on TV at least once and it's a funny show and it's free. And we can leave anytime. And the hardest part is getting the first two people. After that, it gets easier. I know this looks weird. So I would usually say that to them. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes those two poor fucks would sit there and nobody else would come in and we had to cancel the show. They sat there for an hour. Usually they were very cool about it. But like that's the good thing about that is nobody's watching. There's no industry eyes. They didn't like the kind of comedy we were doing. They didn't like the club. So I got to do what I wanted to do and I got to grow. And I was doing 20, 30 minutes at a time because at a certain point I took the shows over and I would have other people go stand out there and then I would do a great set, 20, 30 minutes and then go. And so that's how I really got to grow as a comic, but I got no recognition for 10, 12 years probably, 13
10 to
years.
12 years.
Yeah.
No recognition.
This podcast that I did with Andrew, during quarantine, it really started to blow up, and he blew up. And then him being associated with this podcast, that's what kind of got people to be like, oh, this kid is funny too, Akaash. If nothing else, he's attached to Andrew. And then I think over the quarantine, I got an agent, and now he was finally like, hey, do you want to do these weekends on the road? That's a good step. And most people get it 5, 6 years in. I was 13, 14 years in. But once I got them, I said, give me every show. I want to eat these reps. I want to get, and because I knew how much I was growing. And now, and it took a lot of like writing affirmations to myself and working on my self-worth to say this, but now I'm like, yo, I'm one of the best in the world at this. And that's I'm proud of myself for even being able to say that, because before it's like, nah, you're not.
Yeah, do you say that because you built the confidence and because you had so many reps? Like you had so many reps at this and over, and you built this. Are you making that comment based on the fact, like, I know I'm one of the best, or if not the best in the world, because fuck, I ate those reps.
I ate those reps, and now I see what I'm doing. And like, I saw how the reps have paid off. And you know, they say success breeds confidence and confidence breeds success. You got to start with the confidence. So I literally wrote affirmations to myself, like pages in my iPhone. I am good enough. I am good enough. And like, I would just say it until I believed it and then do it again the next day. And I would write good things about myself. And like these things I would never allow myself to believe. I told you this at lunch, but before that, they would call me on stage at the comedy club and there would be this fleeting thought that I would block out really quickly, but it happened every time. I hope these people don't realize I'm a complete fraud, phony. And then the second they didn't laugh, I'd start melting down. And like, I had to work on that, grab that thought and say, look, whether they laugh or not, I'm good enough. It doesn't matter. Even if it goes great, it doesn't change anything. I'm good enough. They don't dictate anything.
Gosh.
And so you work on that, and then you slowly get better, and you get the reps, and all of it lined up for me. Nice. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, yo, you might not think I'm the funniest, but you're going to walk out saying he is good at comedy. The skill of comedy, he's good at it.
So in those 10 to 12 years, other than personal affirmations, what feedback were you getting to make you, other than you said you had that personality, you're not going to quit, but what other feedback were you getting to realize I'm on the right track here, at least?
Not a lot. You get the audience will like you. That's a honest reaction in the room. And then afterward, everybody's very dog eat dog, especially back then when we're all waiting for these industry things and whatever. And Andrew, luckily I formed a great friendship with this guy who like blew up the whole model. And he's the guy that started putting comedy clips online. In America, nobody did that. We were all like, well, I want to wait and see if Netflix gives me a 1 hour special. And then he shopped a special and nobody bought it. So he said, fuck it, I'll just put it online. And then tickets started selling because people were like, oh, this guy's funny. And so we all saw that and we all copied that. And he had an on-air intervention with me. He was like, dude, you're one of the nicest comics out here. I wouldn't have you on this podcast if you weren't. And that was a big moment for me to be like, yeah, I need to start to learn this and like take this in.
Yeah, because I think identity, probably more so than any other profession, right? Because comedy is your affirmation of your identity, of who you are, is immediate. So either they laugh or they don't.
Yes.
right? So then you question, like you said, like in the middle of the show, I'm questioning, oh crap, they're figuring out who I am. But to have the mindset of saying, okay, I am good enough. I belong here. I am great. I am now one of the best in the world at doing this. That positive affirmation, right? That separates the identity. Like I am, whether you laugh or not, I'm confident in who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's when you hit freedom on stage.
Yeah.
And it slows down.
Yeah, you still have to. I still have that voice that's in me at all times. That little insecure kid.
Right.
And I think Mike on our podcast, Michael Irvin, called it King Mike and Little Mike.
Yeah.
And you got the little guy in you that's kind of insecure and always trying to prove himself. So there's these moments where they don't laugh, and that voice will start. That alarm will start firing off. And I try to grab it now and take a breath and go, "Yo, it's okay. I'm good enough. If they will laugh, and if not, that's okay too. That happens. Get it out of the way. Eat it.
Yeah.
I bombed super hard this summer. And I really hated it for a day, but like overall, I was like, I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
You have to have this. You got yours now, so keep moving.
Yeah. I mean, it's an opportunity to refine, okay, self-correct, whatever it takes to do in your profession.
And it is my fault at the end of the day if I bomb, but also sometimes an audience just isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I need to try to figure out how to get them, but at the same time, don't personalize it too much.
All right, I want to take a quick minute to talk about our partner, Choctaw Casino and Resort. We are really, really humbled and grateful to be a partner for them. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard how great the resort is there, how great the casino is, the new expansion. They've doubled in size, 3,000 new slots. They've got unbelievable sports bar. They've got unbelievable restaurants, unbelievable movie theaters, arcades for kids. It is endless, the things that they've not only improved but added. But it's just the experience that they provide is second to none. Choctaw Nation has done an incredible job with the community, with philanthropy, with support. They have just done incredible things. So we are extremely humbled and grateful to partner with Choctaw Casino and Resort. Make sure, I know you know it, but it's just a short drive up 75. Go check them out. And now back to the episode. How much are you out there just saying, okay, I've got to scan the audience, because like you said, every audience is different. Sometimes they just suck.
Yeah.
Like they're just terrible people that should leave there and just drive off a bridge.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'll drive.
oh,
with
that
you.
got really
that
dark.
bad.
I'm
That
sorry,
bad.
guys. I took that to a dark place. It's starting to come out of me.
You got dark on it.
It's because I'm white.
Yeah.
And so
it's in you. It's in you.
Don't apologize, man. Don't
Yeah.
stop trying to save him.
You're not that kind of white. You're a Viking white.
Yeah,
You're a
that's-
Viking white.
He is a Viking.
That's very true.
He's of the ogre tribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
this
Gosh,
guy's
come on, man.
This guy.
this
Let him- let him-
this
let
guy's
him-
built to pillage, dude. This guy's built to. If you just start robbing places, I would literally defend you in court and be like, "Look at this man. That's evolutionary.
That's what he was
he's
created
here
for.
Yeah.
So the Aryan.
Blame Darwin, not him. That's evolution talking. That's natural selection or whatever you call that shit. This guy's for it, man.
Have you ever been told that before, Tyler?
Have I ever what?
You're built to pillage.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You do have that.
You do have a
Right?
pillager
This
face.
guy on the front of a ship.
Pillager. Come on, guys. Go on.
You got a very pillager face.
Dude, put this guy in the front of a ship with a fucking hat and horns on it. That's
Oh,
him.
my God.
Tyler, you are good enough.
thank you.
Your only reason for living is not
Affirmations, Tyler.
pillaging.
Affirmations.
Tyler, you are good enough. Tyler, you are good enough. You're a good father. You're a good husband.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, but back to the audience. How much are you adjusting? Guy's deflecting, man. It's sweating right now.
Seriously.
How much are you adjusting based off of kind of your stereotype of the audience?
I don't have a stereotype, and now that I'm headlining a show, usually if you come, you know me. Not everybody, but you know, a lot of the people. So I'm like, you guys, especially the good thing about a podcast y'all will find is people will get to know you in a way that nobody else will ever know you. Outside of your like immediate family and your spouses. Because they just listen to you talk for hours on end.
And you're not bullshitting. It's like, it's who you are.
You have to be. You can't bullshit for that
Right.
long.
Yeah.
So they know me, but also I have learned I'm just going to try to find the fun in the audience. And if you're a little uncomfortable with it, I'd learn little things like presenting a three-dimensional view of who I am is very important.
Yeah.
Like I remember once I did 5 minutes, and I'm not good at doing 5 minutes because I'm used to doing more time, and I didn't do well. And my friend told me, he was like, you know, you're making these jokes about your wife, and I know you, so I know how much you love your wife. But in 5 minutes, if that's all they hear is you shitting on your wife, they think you don't they think you hate your wife. So in every joke and every piece of crowd work, I try to keep in mind you have to be three-dimensional.
Yeah.
I can't shit on my wife without also mentioning that I love her so much it's crazy. I can't shit on this audience member without also acknowledging there's probably some insecurity in me that's making me make fun of you, or whatever the thing is that allows it to be three-dimensional. And sometimes I'll say as a disclaimer, look, guys, I'm going to tease you, but I'm truly not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. So if you're uncomfortable with being talked to, just give me one of these and I'll move on. Okay. And then I'll make a joke like I'm not trying to fight anybody. You can tell by looking at me. And it's like it's true, but now it provides a much more honest view of like who I am and what I feel. I don't want to bully you. I don't want you to feel bad. So let me say this thing. It's honest and it allows me to have a little more fun with you. The more three-dimensional I could be, the better. So with an audience, have fun, be three-dimensional, and that's it. Don't stereotype them, and then dig and find the fun.
Right. So have you before you go on? So you're headlining these shows now.
Yeah. Jesus.
Three comedians, 4 comedians going on before you.
Yeah.
Are you ever in the back listening to what the feedback the audience is giving?
I don't. I try not to. I try to put on headphones. That's part of my thing too. I don't want to. I weirdly get more nervous when they're good than when they're bad. In the same way, playing pickup ball or whatever, I was always more nervous with a big lead than down. Because down, I was like, I got nothing to lose. Let's just go fire. Up, I'm like, man, what if I fuck this up? An audience where everybody's getting huge laughs, I'm like, man, please don't be the one to fuck this up. And if nobody's laughing, I'm like, all right, I could probably get them. And if not, nobody else did either. Who cares? So I try to block all that out. Noise canceling headphones, notes, Eric Thomas motivational speeches, whatever I need to do, get in your zone, lock in. Fun songs, motivational songs. I try to mix it all up, lock in. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's strong.
This is
that is strong.
It's such a crazy world to me.
Yeah.
To go up there and be funny in front of people.
It's so crazy that y'all are looking at me like I'm crazy because you guys literally like put your bodies and brains on the line.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think it's different because there's
you can die at your job.
Well,
I've almost gotten killed at my job a couple
you
times.
Probably have. I'm sure people want to kill
so
you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of different. Like we can hide. Sometimes we can hide.
Yeah.
Like, you can't hide.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just you, the audience, and it's not just the audience that's right in front of you. It's social media. It's everyone. They're listening. They're tuning into you, and to have that kind of confidence. See, I can have that confidence on the football field because I'm surrounded by so many guys that I can say, they got my back. Nobody's got your back, man.
Yeah.
This is just you. And that's why I think for us, we're sitting here looking at you crazy because, man, this is the confidence that you have to have and the wherewithal of and the way to put words together. That is amazing, man. It really is, man. That's why I really appreciate having you on. Yeah. Not just listening to you on YouTube or watching your shows, but just be here and watch this and listen to your story. And the shit you went through for 13 years, man. You could have easily quit.
Yeah, that's
I should have probably.
No, we're glad you did. But there's a reason, right? That the number one fear for people is public speaking, getting on stage, right? So you have taken the number one fear held by humans, as their, and I'm going to take it head on. And I'm going to not only just speak, and then I'm also going to try to make you laugh and relate to everybody in here. And as different as everybody in every audience is finding a way to connect and relate to all of those, man. Yeah. That really is impressive. And when Darren's, you can hide behind a helmet. You can hide. Nobody's biggest fear is, man, I really don't want to screw up this cover 2.
Yeah.
I really don't want to screw up this counter scheme. You know what I mean? It's like, it's
you have those moments
so
though. In a big moment in a football game, if you blow a cover 2,
you just blame
and you make the wrong
100%. I checked. I gave
you the check.
I checked.
Like, that's your fault.
Yeah, but media is not. They're going to see who blew the coverage in their eyes.
They're not going to see it. Honestly, media has no idea whose fault it actually was.
But they blame somebody anyway.
They blame somebody. You take it or you don't.
And it's going to be you or the corner. It's not going to be anybody else.
Half the time I'd be like, fuck, that wasn't me. That was him.
It's not going to be Randall Godfrey who was supposed to cover the tight end and he didn't, so I had to cover him, and then the slot receiver was running free. There's none of that.
Well, look, see the names too. Randall Godfrey. Randall Godfrey.
I tried to think of a linebacker.
It is comedy though, because again, like Cooper Kupp, remember this year he got famous for being like football IQ, right? He ran through a whole deal. Like, who's going to check that?
Yeah.
Who's going to check and make sure that his assessment of that coverage and that shift and that, like, who's going to? They're like, this dude is a G, because he talked really fast and acted like he knew what he was talking about.
That's all I do.
Yeah, he was good.
True. That
was good though.
It was good.
Coop. Yeah,
it was good.
It was good.
It was good.
Can you think of a show where you started out bombing or the first few weren't hitting, and then you pulled it out and it ended up going.
I don't have specific examples, but that definitely
Yeah.
happens. And there's shows where I'm killing, and then it falls off at the end,
Really?
and that's way worse.
What
Because you
happens
leave with
there?
that? I don't know. Usually you lose them somewhere, and then you try to figure out like what turned them on me. Sometimes you can say, I've had shows. It's always a liberal white woman where she doesn't like where the joke is going, and before I
her name's
finish,
Karen, by the
yes,
way, yes.
yes, yeah. You guys get a bad rap. These bitches, these fucking, they're like Buzz McAllister, where they do all the foul shit, and then you guys are sitting there like
Yep.
Kevin, taking all the heat. Fucking,
Buzz McAllister, first reference ever on the show.
fucking, but they'll literally just scream no in the middle of a joke, no, and then anybody who's in the audience is like, I guess if I laugh, I'm hateful. So it fucks it for everybody. I've had that happen so many times, and usually I'll just stop the show and go in on them and be like, you're awful. Nobody else felt that. You could just not laugh. You were completely entitled to not laugh. Talk to me afterward. Tell me that offended you. Let's have a conversation. But just screaming no because you paid for one ticket. I will give you your money back. Get the fuck out of my show.
Yeah.
When did that
Nobody goes to Bath and Body Works and tells you no when you're trying to sling some hand soap.
when did that start though? Because you referenced Killing Them Softly, which in my opinion is one of the greatest
So
stand-ups
funny.
ever.
Yeah.
And nobody I don't remember getting ever offended by anything he said in that.
It's because you're white.
Well, he shit on white people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we can laugh at it.
But that's what I'm saying. When did that change?
Got chipped, didn't even know he couldn't race. It's great
When
special.
did that change?
I think I love him, so I'm not saying this negatively at him, but I think Jon Stewart was the guy that I talked about this. I was with a few times. I think Andrew said this too. It was like Andrew Schultz, where it's like he's the guy that we looked at and we were like, oh, I guess good comedy is political. And then with that, comedy and politics became very intertwined, and we don't realize this guy's a genius at that. He's a genius level comedian when it comes to politics in particular. The rest of his stand-up is good, but when he's talking politics, that motherfucker is the smartest guy in the room. So he can do it. Most of us can't. But somehow it just bled into everything, and now comedy and politics are right here, and identity politics and comedy are right here. And so it's this thing that we're having trouble separating. But the good thing, again, about what Andrew started doing, putting it on YouTube, is now you find who you like. You find your tribe. Those people find you. And then you don't want to be in an echo chamber. And that's why it's important for me to address both sides. I don't want to be... Dude, when I did my special, I got this thing about I don't believe in white male privilege. Ted Cruz retweeted it. And I was like, yo, I don't like you. And I said that publicly. I don't like you. Don't make me your fucking puppet.
Right.
I'm not... I'm going to just say it. I'm not going to be Brown Candace Owens. I'm not going to do that shit ever. I'm also not going to be the liberal version of that, whatever that person is.
Right.
So I'm going to be me. And that I want to get a different blend of people in the show. I don't want us all to be in an echo chamber. Let's make fun of everyone. But we do get to find our own now. And I think there's a large swath of the country that's like, I don't want either extreme. I just want to talk.
Yeah,
and have
because
fun.
you know what? Look, I think that's 98% of the world,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Of the country. That's where we lay right there. That's where
Yeah.
we're comfortable. Is like I don't have to be, marching the street with Black Lives Matter to feel like I got to be a part of. I got to be
Yeah.
black, right?
And we're proud of being black.
Yeah, I got my own views on how I perceive
Yes,
things.
and you are
right?
allowed to have that.
Exactly, but I think that as a black man, a lot of people want to pull me that way. Oh, you got to think this way.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I don't. The Joe Rogan deal that went down. I want to talk to you about that interview.
Absolutely.
But if you watch Joe Rogan, and I know everybody's throwing darts at Joe Rogan, but if you've been around, and I know a lot of people that have been around him, I've even spent time around him. That dude,
The warmest guy.
warmest
Nicest
man
guy.
you will ever meet.
Yes. So
Right?
nice.
I mean, and then he gets these darts, and now they want everyone to go against him.
Yes.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's flat out bullshit. Let's talk about that Joe Rogan interview, because I know there were a lot of eyes. Our eyes were on that interview as well. How did you feel going into that interview?
I mean, when I did that New York Times, I got a write-up in the New York Times, and the guy asked me, were you nervous or excited? And I said, and I think this is true, I was really nervous about potential backlash to me. And I don't use that word. I love rap. I don't say it. If I'm by myself in a car, I won't say it. Because I had one black guy tell me, don't say it when I was 14. I was like, that's all I need.
Right.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Right.
So I don't like the word. I understand most people shouldn't use it, and most people do. Joe used it and shouldn't have. But I know who Joe is. Right. So I wanted to be honest and authentic and say, hey, I don't love that you said that, but you apologize and it seems sincere, and you stopped using it years ago. And if you watch the clip of the Planet of the Apes thing, I wish he had brought this up, but somebody brought it up to me after the interview. He says as soon as he made that joke, he goes, yo, that sounded really fucked up. That's my bad. And you should be allowed to say that.
Right.
You can't just why make the bad joke, because we have to try. We are on a high wire all the time doing comedy, and sometimes we will fall brutally. We should be allowed to get back up on the high wire.
Right.
And we just say, yo, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I've made jokes that I know I'm gonna look back on and be like, God, why did I make that joke?
Yeah.
I was trying to be funny. I'm sorry, I failed. Let me keep trying.
Yeah, but that's what we have a lack of is grace, man. Because every single person on this planet that can speak has said something that as it's going out, they wish they could take it back.
Yeah.
But you can't, right? Yeah. You can't take what has already been said back. And so we just have a lack of grace. And the fact that because of the platform that you have, we're going to go back and we're going to dig stuff up. And agreed, I'm not saying it was right or it was wrong, but there's also got to be a level of grace, right? And there's just this cancel culture that is absent of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's hard. And what it does is it forces people just to live in fear.
Yeah, and then it also, now you have this anti-cancel culture side, which is just being as offensive as possible in reaction, and I don't like that either.
Yeah. Right.
Let's all find a space in the middle, which is, yo, Joe, you fucked up, you apologize, you own the
Thank
apology,
you.
and we can accept the apology.
Absolutely.
And-
That's like street shit, though. Like in the streets,
Yeah.
sort of the same way. Grow up in the inner city, like, you fuck up at times.
Yeah.
And you might say something a little sideways. The streets will cancel it. They'll hey, look, I fucked up. It's on me.
Yeah.
All right, then let's move on, right?
Right.
And it's the same way in the locker room. Guys fuck up in the locker room. We say some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But you come back and you're real about it.
But why? Why? Back on the streets or in the locker room, you've got to know the person's heart. Like
got
we talked
to know
about
his
Joe,
heart.
right?
Absolutely.
You know who
Yeah.
they are. We're in a position where we don't care who you are, who you are as a person. You said that, we're holding you accountable.
That's right.
And we're taking from you what we don't have.
Right.
And so that's what's hard is
Yep.
it's like, you don't know my heart. There's been a number of people that I'm sure have gone through this cancel culture deal that are probably good people on the other
Yes.
side. But
Yeah.
nobody cares. Nobody cares what the heart behind it was, the mistake. And like I mentioned, the grace that we should be showing, that we would want people to show us.
And what bothers me is you're only pushing those people further into
away.
that.
Yes.
And that's where the
yeah.
divide is getting worse and worse and worse. That's my main issue with it. If it didn't have that effect, I probably wouldn't feel as strong as I do. But these guys who get canceled always lean heavy cancel culture, and then they become this kind of joke of themselves. And it's like, we did this to you, man.
Yeah.
I really think a lot of ways, a lot of things are responsible for Trump, and I make that joke about that. But one of the things was we truly didn't let white people say anything without jumping on them. Right. And so you bury it all, and then there's one white guy saying all the shit, and that speaks to that dark, festering thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, I fuck with this guy. I fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was funny. What show was that? Tell me what show was that?
It's a bit that I've done a few times, but it's in the Stress Factory, my Bring Back Up Who special.
Okay.
So it's the
Who
first
special.
the first joke
Yep.
about white man can't have an opinion.
Right.
When I say name one thing a white man can't have, I go, okay, an opinion. And then
It's hilarious.
I say you gotta let a white guy express himself, otherwise it gets real dark. And then
They hold on to that shit.
yeah. And they go to a voting booth, and we're all like, what happened? That's what happened, dog. It was you. We're all dazed and confused, and they're like, I knew this shit was going to happen 2 years ago. The second you took Megyn Kelly's hot ass off the air, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going to do.
There's an overcorrection coming, guys. Oh man, that's so true. But I love that, man. I love that you have approached it. And Joe Rogan, I think, is one of the people that has really just brought this to the forefront. Is like, we can listen to both sides.
Yes.
We can have the conversation on both sides.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate because the hyper liberals have said, oh, you are this. It's like, have you ever listened? Have you gone back and listened to his show over the years? And what he is more concerned with is just finding out facts. And okay, yes, I'm going to bring somebody on that has that opinion, but I'm also going to bring on somebody that has the other, and then let you decide. And that's where it should be.
This is what's cool to me also about Joe. One story about what kind of guy he is. The first time I met him, Andrew Schultz was doing his special taping. Joe came down. I was in Austin. He had never met me, and I was ready to do the handshake. Hey, nice to meet you. He gives me a big hug, talks to me nonstop for 10, 15 minutes, like really warm, really friendly. Only break in the conversation, for whatever this is worth, a young black comic walks by, breaks eye contact with me, and goes, Derek! Gives him a huge hug, and then comes back to the conversation with me. And it wasn't racial, but what I thought of within that moment is, you know how they say you can tell a man's character by how he treats people who can't do anything for him? I can't do anything for Joe. This kid can't even do anything for me. And he's a funny, sweet kid who's going to be a star. But in this moment, he can't do anything for me. He damn sure can't do anything for Joe.
right.
And Joe went out of his way to break our conversation, which he didn't even need to have with me, and hug this guy and give him a warm greeting and then go back to me. And I was like, yo, this is a fucking good dude, man. Person to person, this is a good guy. I haven't heard a bad thing about him, and it's all validated through our interaction.
Right.
Who are some other people on the circuit that you respect and that you look up to?
Andrew's another guy that I really look up to because of how he operates. Not just his maniacal work ethic. It's really like Kobe-like in our industry. It's like when he was supposed to help me with my special, he said, I'm free from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's all I have. The day before it was supposed to come out. He sat with me from 12 p.m. to 4 a.m., pushed off the rest of his schedule.
No way.
Just like, I'm canceling my shows. Let's just sit here and do it. And then when I saw what he did with one joke that took 16 hours, we did that to the rest of the special, and that took another 48 hours. We were late on the special. But literally, he's watching like this, and he was telling my editor, Kevin, he was like, Kevin, when I snap, I need you to cut. And he literally watched like this, and he just go. And you see a guy that's that intense, but also doesn't have that other side where he's cheating on his wife and doing drugs and that dark side you always hear about. That's a guy I want to emulate in that way. Joe Rogan's a guy I want to emulate in the way he treats other people. And I try to be around people that in some form or fashion I can emulate what they're doing. Because I know how impressionable I am. So let me try to pick up good habits from these other people and do the best I can at being the best version of myself.
Teenagers, go back 25 seconds and listen to that again. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like.
That's what I learned as a teenager. I had friends that ended up being flameouts. And my mom, when she saw me hanging out with them, she noticed a big difference when I started hanging out with my best friend to this day. He's this Asian kid who's like super well-spoken. And I was 13 years old, and I was like, I'm going to do good in school this year. He was like, well. And I was like, what? He's like, you're going to do well. And he just always talked like that, was always focused on grades, always focused on getting into college and goals. And then my mom saw that change in me. And we cussed a lot, but when he saw kids, we would all kind of stop. And she was like, I've noticed a big change in you. And I realized I am impressionable. We are all. Me more than most, but we are all. So hang out with people that are going to leave good impressions.
Yeah, you talk about the guys that you look up to. Has it hit you yet that you're now to the point where people are looking up to you?
I am not comfortable with it yet. My self-worth is not there. It's like, this is weird, man. Find somebody else. I'm not that guy yet. I hope I will be one day, but I'm not that guy yet. But even when Indian kids, we have a friend who dropped out of med school. He like pushed off and was like, well, you did it. And I was like, no. I don't like that. I don't want my future to be in your future's in because of me.
Right,
exactly.
Like I dictate it. No, I'm not comfortable with that. And what I tell people is if you're willing to sacrifice everything for this, you don't have to do it like me, but I didn't hang out with my friends most weekends. I never pursued a relationship. I was 31 before I met my wife. That's the first girl I ever had sex with. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. You don't have to live like me, but I was willing to do all that to get here. If you're willing to do all that for this, go for it. If you're not, might not be for you. And you can make it doing the other stuff, for sure. Most people do. But I knew I was willing to sacrifice everything. So if you're willing to sacrifice everything, this is for you. If not, you might need to do something safer.
Talk to us about goes across the board, though, right?
For any big dream.
Yes.
Yeah. NFL, absolutely. Yeah. I know NFL motherfuckers out here partying, for sure. Right. But if you're willing to give it up to get there, then cool.
Yeah. Man.
Talk to us about your wife, how you met her.
Oh, I told you guys she had a fat ass and I followed it. And I remember I was thinking from behind, you see a girl from behind, she had a little turkey on her. So I said, what's going on here? She looks like she could be Indian, but her ass is Dominican. So I followed her, and then her sister turned around and was like, can we get a picture? And I was like, you can get my whole phone. I don't give a fuck. What are you talking about? And that's how it started.
You looked up,
as soon as we made eye contact, I was like, this girl is gorgeous. And then she gave me her name, and it's an Indian name, and I wanted to marry an Indian girl. I was always looking for that, and I was like, this is perfect. She was 9 years younger than me. I was 31, she was 22, but I hadn't been in a relationship, so it kind of worked in that way. We definitely both had a lot of growing up to do, and we worked hard on ourselves and each other, and that's how we've made it here. Otherwise, we would not have. But she had she was doing like a co-op at Goldman Sachs, and she had descending toes. The length was staircase. You know what I mean?
Stair step.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah. You don't want a New York skyline. That's fucking wild.
Well,
you
don't want steep stairs.
No. Nice gradual step down.
Walkable
stairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
very easy on the back.
Something that your grandma can
you know what I mean?
handle.
You gotta be careful. Those things are going in your mouth. It's like, be careful about what you're doing.
Oh, I was gonna say, Saul sounds like a toe fetish. Here we go with the toe fetish shit. You're looking at everybody with open shoes and shit.
Like, this is my wife. You know what I mean? I would never disrespect her.
Take my shoes off
Take
for
your
you.
shoes off.
So here's a question: Is are they in your mouth while you're in the front seat driving? That's the real question.
I'm not. We're not there yet.
Not a Rex,
I'm married. We're not doing that.
You become a freak.
Yeah,
now you're pillaging. Now you're pillaging though. Hey, so what's your wife's name, man? You didn't give us
Just lean.
Just lean.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Y'all got married last summer.
Last summer, yeah.
We're supposed to get married in 2020.
Yeah,
but
it's been great. I really love being married. It's like, and we both grew up having to learn a lot about how to fight. Like how to communicate. Because both of us, we only knew fighting to be ugly and bad. So we've both had to learn a lot about how to communicate and have healthy fights. Mm-hmm. And again, when people talk about red flag, this and that, I'm not gonna date them. That's a red flag. Red flags are like real. They're like abuse and, like cheating, manipulation, that kind of stuff. But outside of that, the real red flag is I'm not willing to work on me.
Yeah.
If one of you guys, both of you guys aren't willing to work on you and yourselves, that's the red flag.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's very few red flags.
Yeah.
And she and I, we both had some toxic shit for sure we had to work our way out of. But like we worked hard, therapy, couples therapy, read the books, did everything. She was worth it to me. I was worth it to her. And we've made it work.
That's awesome. Darren's got a tactic. If you're fighting and it gets
Oh,
bad.
dude. Can we talk about this?
I don't think we can not talk about this.
It's gonna fix It's gonna fix your marriage
So
for sure.
So we're having this conversation, and Ben can probably set it up better than I can. But Tyler gives us his advice about how to diffuse.
Tyler's
the
a
situation.
relationship expert, by the way.
He's how to diffuse the
I'm almost
relationship
published.
with your wife, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. So he says, hey, so you grab your wife. So you guys get into an argument and it's going back and forth. You walk up to your wife and you make sure you get close enough. And you put your hands out and you tell your wife to put her hands into your hands. And then you come in.
That's how I know his wife is white, that this works for him.
She's Italian, bro. Opposite.
I got it.
Opposite when it comes to fighting.
So wait. So what was the rest?
So
of it?
the
You get
point is
no. Finish the damn story. You hold hands.
Yeah, you hold hands, and you're now eye contact. It's really hard to yell at your spouse when you're holding their hands and you're face to face, right? It's really easy across the room to yell and to get, for it to escalate. But if you take this, right? Okay, hey, it's a reminder, like, hey, we're in this together, and if you're willing to yell at me right here, then I don't want anything to do with you.
So let's take this. So here we go.
Nah, that's just because she thinks he's gonna go full Viking if she doesn't take his hands.
Hey, what I didn't say, Darren, is when she takes your hands, you crush them.
So I take the advice, right?
Yeah.
We got to get into a knockdown. It's 2 days later.
He's like, makes
and he
sense.
had us.
Makes
He's telling
sense.
his story, right?
Yeah.
And it's a serious conversation we're having, man. This is what we call our round table. This is a fucking serious conversation. And Ben and I are sitting there going, damn, that shit.
It sounds
That's
like it's
really
fire.
good.
I know that won't work for me, but it sounds like
I
most
got
people
notes and shit.
Yeah.
We got me and my wife's Italian.
Yeah.
And it's volatile sometimes.
And our wives are like very similar. Very similar. So I'm like, oh, it works for me, man. It'll work for you for sure.
Our wives are close as thick as thieves, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. 2 days later, we're in this knockout, drag out argument, right? And it's in the morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I got this shit. So I walk over to her and I'm like, hey, babe, come here. She walks up. She's like, what? And I put my hands out. And she looks at me. And she looks at my hands. And I'm like, can you put your hands in my hands?
That's exactly what I would get.
She's like, for what? I was like, babe, just put your hands in my hands. She puts her hands in my hands, and I look at her, I pull her close. She said, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, see, there we go, this dumbass shit. That's why I don't like your ass anyway.
That's when you say, it's not your fault. What are you talking about? It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah, I know. It's not my fault.
Oh, shit. Yeah, there's no way my wife would listen. Who the fuck are you talking to? All right. I'm not here for your
shit out of my.
I'm not here for your little manipulation techniques. All right, dude, my bad.
Some Viking named Tyler told me.
Apparently, that's how he dupes him into pillaging them.
You know what? A nice relationship hack I have for any relationship. I realized apologies. People always say the worst thing you can say in an apology is "but." Like, I'm sorry, but. What I've realized when we say "but," we just want our side to be heard. So what I'll do is I'll front end it. I'll say, "Hey, look, I was feeling, X, Y, and Z because of this, but I still should never have done this to you, and I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And that it might not work perfectly, but it definitely goes better than
It
flip.
sure as hell is going to work a lot better than holding hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to diffuse everything, but at least you'll feel like, okay, she heard me, and I apologize for what I should apologize for, and then she'll remember at least the apology seems way more real. Because you're saying, but at the end of the day, I never should have done that.
That's what you're ending with. That's what I remember as the apology. No, I love that. By the way, you're white, man. This will work for you. So don't discredit it. Like it's perfect for you and Whitney.
Yeah.
So don't try to put me down just because your friends are here.
So look, let's go back to this, Akash. I know you've been well traveled, man. You've been look, you've cut your teeth for a long time in New York City, man. For those that are young professionals, doesn't have to be a comedian. What advice would you have for someone breaking into or being a young entrepreneur and wanting to do whatever the frick they want to do and taking the criticism? Because a lot of things that happens when you become an entrepreneur, you're always having the criticism that's the darts back at you, like you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. Give us something that you've held on to.
There's a couple things. I think one, like I said, learn to love failure, and there are no failure. There's only. I have a friend who we're going to see after this who tells that to his kids' basketball team. There's no failure. There's only learning. And I want to use that exact line. Another thing,
man, that's good.
And this is a big lesson with like talking to girls. This one girl I liked didn't like me back or whatever, and then my friend Andrew said to me, "The moment you are immune to rejection in anything, you are a fucking superhero.
Yeah,
you are
dangerous.
unstoppable.
Yeah,
Wow.
Rejection means, hey, that's fine. You feel that way. Cool. It doesn't reflect how I feel about me. You just aren't whatever. Wow. So whether it's business, whether it's a girl, whether it's anything, rejection should not, once you get to the point where it doesn't bother you and it doesn't make you feel this inside. Now, if I go back and be single and if I want to be out there, it'd be the funnest thing in the world. Ask out every girl that you think is cute, and if she says no, okay, I'll ask you again in a couple days. You can say no all you want to. It don't matter. I'm not going to view myself differently. You're not feeling me in this moment. Maybe you'll change your mind. Be respectful. Don't be inappropriate at all. Yeah. But like in any field, whether it's business, this same guy with there's no failure, there's only learning. He emailed everybody whenever he moved to Philadelphia all the time. Just his wife was a doctor, and he sold a piece of his business for millions of dollars just off of asking people for coffee. 95% of them said no. One person said yes. They're just talking, and then he tells her what she does, and she's like, "Oh, I might know somebody that would be interested in what you do." And then he made millions of dollars off that cup of coffee. But he got to get rejected by every other small business person in Philadelphia before he gets to that. And it never affected him.
That's great.
Wow.
And I think always be willing to learn and look at yourself and say, what could I do better? Those are probably the three biggest lessons. Oh, and be smart with your money. I think every one of us has probably learned a lesson where we fucked up money. I went broke in 2018. If you can start planning financially intelligently now, you're just in way better shape. Like you, me, you. There's no retirement fund at our job. I didn't realize that. And now I have to get enough money to take care of my wife and my children if I ever stop doing this forever. And so you got to plan that very differently than living check to check. Start doing that early. It's better.
Love it.
So New York right now, I mean, New York's, it kind of works west, right? With kind of the thought process thinking, right? So right now is a little bit of a scary time. You just mentioned money, saving. What is, I mean, with the last couple of weeks, obviously kicking off with Ukraine and then, the oil ban, everything that's going on, what are you feeling like? What's your perspective on the scary times ahead? You went through 08, obviously, like Ben and I were both broke as a joke in 2008, so it didn't really make a difference. But what are you feeling like now that you're starting to see some success? How do you approach the uncertainty?
I look at that stuff like it's a real opportunity. You don't want anybody to struggle, but if it happens that America is struggling or we're in a recession and you've been smart with your money, this is your opportunity. Put that money into the market. It will go up. And if it doesn't, America's failed and we're all fucked anyway. But it will go back up. So this is the opportunity. I remember moving to New York. A bunch of people were moving out. And the building I live in now, I have no business living there. So I literally saw Tom Holland there the other day. But my wife said, "Why are you moving to New York when everybody else is moving out?" I said, "Because everybody else is moving out." That's
right.
I said, "That's why we want to move in."
Be an opportunist.
Be an opportunist. And we got a crazy deal because they're dying for people to come in. So if you are smart with your money, these moments where other people are scared, that's when, what do they say? Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. It's really hard to learn. And if I had done that with my money my whole life, I'd be so rich. But I'm trying to implement that now. When other people are scared and we're pulling money out, I'm putting money in. Let's go.
Yeah, that's an easier lesson when you do have money.
Yeah.
It's an easier lesson to live out.
And that's where the front end planning helps. If you're
Right.
smart with your money up top, and don't put money in that you can't afford to lose. But if you have disposable income, let's go. Put that in. And if you that money that if I lost it, it wouldn't really bother me, put it in. Put all of that in. Every dollar of that you have, put it in.
To have disposable income, though, right? You've got to live below your means, right? You've got to set what my living standard
There
is.
is a financial book that my dad told me about, and it's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by this guy, Ramit Sethi, Indian guy. But the point of the book is you don't have to, these guys are like, if you don't drink a cup of coffee every day, you save $20 a week.
Right.
He's like, yo, if you like coffee, drink the cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Just spend lavishly on the things you enjoy, and the things that you don't really care about, save relentlessly on those, and keep investing that money in the market. He's big on just the S&P fund. Or just whatever mutual fund. Put that in a Vanguard, whatever, low fees. And then you will have that money. And he brings up the way compound interest works. If you start investing $100 a week when you're 18, that's going to be worth so much money when you're 50.
Yo,
It doesn't take much.
Right.
yeah, we went through an exercise in my economics class my senior year, and we just went through like what a Roth IRA could do. If you put in,
Fucking crazy.
it's ridiculous. And I'm like, what kind of dumbass was I at 18 years old? All I got to do is $100 a month. $100 a month. No matter how broke I was living off of, $423 a month in college, like I could have figured out a way to put $100 in, right? I could have figured it out. And what that would be at 35, 2 years ago, what that would have been. I mean, that's 7 figures in just under 20 years. And if you're just diligent about it, and it's like, oh, what a dummy.
Yeah. And 35 comes way faster than you realize.
Way faster.
And you got a lot more, if you're most of us, knock on wood, got a lot more life to live after 35.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah. So if you're 28, it's not too late. Guess what? By the time you're 48, that's a pretty early age to pull out 7 figures out of an investment.
Yeah. And then you can live the life you want to live.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, a couple thoughts come to mind for me about this time. Like Tyler said last time, 08, the last big financial crisis for us, I could care less. I was in college, $25 in my account at any time, didn't bother me.
Right.
I was poor anyway. So now what I keep thinking about is that time. Well, it was 08 to what, 2011?
About 08 to
depends.
about
When did it
10.
really start?
Yeah,
It was
probably
like
08 to 10.
12, 13.
Real
Okay,
rough 08, 09.
So even better, 2010. That's 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be forever. So that's one thing I try to keep in
We're
perspective.
2 years into the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. That's one thing I try to keep in perspective. The other thing I keep in perspective is there's been a lot of trash talkers these last 10 years about how to be tough and how to be relentless and go through bad times. We're getting to walk the walk right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're getting to actually live out all this trash we've been talking these last
Yeah.
10 years of, hey, this is how you got to get through hard times. Well, we're about to find out
Yeah.
who the real tough people are.
Yeah.
And so I keep thinking those two things in my mind as we go forward. And it's obviously unknown is always scary.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. But I try to keep that perspective. For anybody
100%.
out there listening, it's not going to last forever.
This is how we work, though, is like Ben's an eternal pessimist and I'm an eternal optimist, right? He's like, oh, it's the worst times ever ahead of us. It's coming. It's coming, guys. And I'm like, guys, it's not going to be that bad. I mean,
Dude, that's the best mentality. Again, the richest guy I know, anytime anything that, just even changing plans with him, every time he'll go, oh, perfect. We'll just blah, blah, blah. And that little mindset shift, I try to adopt and oh, it's all good. I'm going to make the best of whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm still very pessimistic. I'm a Cowboy fan, I've learned. But you got, the more optimistic you can be about things you can control, then
You just said
You
it right
mastered
there.
that rejection thing
Yes,
by being a
that's what-
Cowboys fan for sure.
That's and you just hit it right there, though, man. And we always talk about on the show is that we get so concerned about everybody else.
Oh, I do that too, for sure.
Fuck, it's right here.
Yeah.
It starts right here with myself.
Yes.
Right. If I can set my own standards and say, look, like you just said it earlier. Like the greatest wealth that I've ever had is because of the fact that I've been an opportunist.
Yeah.
I've held on to some cash, and I've had good people around me that said, now is the time to buy. Don't worry about it. Now is the time. And I always say it. When disruption happens,
Yes.
there's chances. You got opportunity.
Yes.
For those chances, right? And that's but in doing so, if you listen to and watch all the fear mongers out there and you're listening to all this shit, the sky is falling, you'll never get anywhere.
And it affects me more like I'm a Bitcoin guy. If every time everybody was like, yo, pull it off, it's gone, it's finally gonna cave in. If I just put more money in those times, I'd be so rich right now.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
believe in you, man.
I'm curious about you learning about money because I don't remember financial freedom being a big conversation back then. Yeah. Especially for athletes. And there wasn't like a broke documentary about NFL athletes. And so to see you in a real estate company and all that, even before that was Roger Staubach, but for you, I was curious, when did that happen?
Man, it was early on.
But I mean, right, you got paid in beaver pelts, right? So that's how long you played. So how did you learn like modern day money, Darren?
You bought it from shillings. You bought it from your father.
Shillings.
What was it like getting paid in shillings?
We're going back to my shit now, pillager. I would say, look, I think it started early on because I went through a situation when I first came in the NFL where a guy, a financial advisor, took advantage, and I knew then I just wasn't taking control of my finances. I wasn't looking at them in the way I should have been looking at them. My mother was there. My mother worked for an accountant growing up, so she understood.
Right.
And she was telling me, hey, just don't trust everybody. Get a better understanding. Educate yourself. And when I started to really educate myself on the littlest things, and it wasn't like, I didn't have to rely on everyone else to tell me what was going on. You just pick up a fucking book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pick up a little book. Listen to some people that really know what the hell they're talking about in the market. And that's what sort of transformed me to think, okay, look, first of all, I knew myself. I wasn't a big spender. I wasn't going, go buy the Mercedes 500 and all these big cars and big houses and all that. That wasn't my lifestyle. So I just lived within my means, knowing this was going to end at some point.
Right.
And that's what allowed me to catapult myself after I got done. Like I had finances, I had money in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I could take some of the risks. I could take advantage of and here's the thing, when you have money in your pocket, you just said it, when you have it in your pocket, when times get hard, that's when you make it.
Yeah.
That's when you spend it.
You know, the new hustle I've learned, I have a friend who he drives like a Ferrari, and then you think he's spending a lot of money on it. And he's like, I buy the Ferrari that I know I can resell for more money than I paid for it. Cool. So I drive a Ferrari, and I literally go to the dealer and I say, which one will resell for the most money? And they'll say, well, it's green, but do you really want this color? And then I will ask, does it resell for the most money? And if they say yes, I say yes, and I drive it, and I sell it in a year, and I make six figures. And I buy a Rolex that might be $20,000, but I know in a few years, I know in a few years, this is the watch that will resell for the most. It's the most coveted watch. If you have access to it, you can also, these rich people are doing stuff with money that's like, these guys are fucking, man, they're playing games we didn't even know were possible.
Chess, we're playing checkers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Art is the highest flex.
Yes,
that's the richest flex.
Yes.
Every piece of art, and I'm not even taking a shot at Gene and Jerry, but every piece of art they know is an investment. It flexes, it's beautiful when you walk in, and I'm going to make money on that.
That's right.
Yeah, they're very smart about money in every way.
So walk us, we talked about, okay, what led you up to here, and we're talking about, hey, some of the really cool things that you're getting to do now. Talk us through, the upcoming specials, the podcast. I want to hear about that. But I want to finish this conversation with, okay, what is the next 10 years? Like, what is the vision on, really the brand that you're building in yourself and what you're doing, what the goal is long term?
Tyler, you ask great questions, dog.
Thanks, man.
You make me nervous because I haven't thought through this shit, and I'm like, what am I doing, yo? How do I not have a vision for what I want to be in 10 years? No, I know. So I had the special that I had, Bring Back a Poo, that came out in February. And this month I want to drop another special, a crowd work special. Yeah. And it kind of came together while I was filming Bring Back a Poo. I had one of these shows that was just like, I was having so much fun with the crowd. And I walked off thinking, holy shit, that could be a crowd work special, which is something Andrew did. But the one thing I haven't seen anybody do is bring out two specials that close together. So you're thinking, how can you differentiate yourself from everybody else? That's one thing, is just two back to back. And I don't love Drake. I'm a big Drake hater for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm jealous. And I understand his greatness, but I just never liked him, like the music or whatever. I just really held on. I'm stubborn.
Is it because he was on Disney?
Yeah, that was part of it. His name is Aubrey, and I don't know. too much. It was too, like, it felt too inauthentic. And like, I think I have a bit about this, but like, I love living vicariously through rappers, doing shit I could never do. Like DMX, I fucking loved.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's doing, like, robbing people and selling drugs and smoking crack, and it all sounds so fun.
Wheelies on quads.
I'd never do it. Yo, this guy's a rough rider, dog. Wheelies through Yonkers.
Yeah.
So I loved him, and Drake is like, he's just a light-skinned dude who's heartbroken all the time. I am Drake. There's nothing here. I don't care about this. This is me, guys.
We both wear turtleneck sweaters a
I'm
lot.
a less
Like, I
attractive
don't-
version of this. That's not a big deal to me.
Oh boy.
But having said that, the most brilliant shit he ever did, and I think he's brilliant, it is back-to-back when he had the diss with Meek Mill,
Yep.
and instead of waiting for a response, he just dropped another one. So I was like, I want to do that with a stand-up special. I want to have one, and then I'm working on it right now. Hopefully it'll be out next week. If not, it'll be out the week after, I think. But a crowd work one that we just drop right after. And the goal in this year is to let everybody know. And again, I'm working up the confidence and the self-worth to say this, but like when you talk about the best comics in the world, I want to force my way into that conversation. And I used to be scared to say I want to be the best ever. Andrew would always say that, and I would envy this confidence that he had.
Yeah.
And I would just say, well, I want to be one of the best ever, because it felt more humble.
Right.
Now it's like, fuck that. I want to be the best ever. Go after that. And it seems now like maybe there's a path. So go. I want to be the best ever, and that's how I want to leave it. But it's not worth it if it sacrifices my family and kids. And I have one of these guys who has a shitty home life, and his kids don't really love him, and he's always gone. So I have to find a way to do both.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't have one without the other. I don't know about a brand necessarily, but I hope when I'm done, you look back and you say, yo, this guy's the best to ever do it. And he lived a life that isn't perfect, and he owned that it wasn't perfect. He never pretended to be anything he wasn't, but he lived a life that is worth trying to emulate in some way.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
man.
awesome.
That's
I'm
strong.
curious to think your opinion of like the best 3 to ever do it.
Oof. Chappelle is up there for sure. Patrice O'Neal for sure. And yeah, he's incredible. Dude.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Andrew, that's his number one ever. And then we went to his taping of his 1 hour Comedy Central special, and it was so fucking good. And he has an album that came out after called Mr. P. Have you heard that?
No, I have not. Oh, I
Check
gotta
it
get
out,
that
dude.
one.
He has
Mr. P. All right.
he has the best bit on reparations I've ever heard in my life. Like, he's this fat black dude that everybody assumes is dumb, and that's what I love about. He's actually a fucking genius. And all these people are like, oh, he must be so dumb and ignorant, and he plays that up. But underneath it, he's brilliant, and he's saying the smartest shit. And he has a joke about black women dating white women. That's the best. Every comic has tried to do it, and he had the best version of it, period. Mr. P, I think, is even better than his special, Elephant in the Room. But I thought those two are up there for sure. And then I think Pryor,
I was just going to ask.
just because and I still watched and laughed, but I wasn't in the moment. I'm sure if I was in the 70s, I'd have really fucking loved it.
Yeah.
But if you watch comedy before Pryor and comedy after Pryor, it's a very different thing.
Yeah,
These are two completely different
He was so
worlds.
ahead of
Yes.
his time because it's funny today. When it's
Yeah.
funny 40, 50 years later, okay, like that's
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Those are probably the three that I put up top.
Okay, so talk through.
You have no idea who
Talk through the
Pryor
next.
I know who he is.
Yeah, I read about
We're not
when you lost him.
we're not talking about Terrell
You know when you
Pryor.
lost them? Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna tell you when you lost both of them. When you mentioned DMX. When you mentioned DMX, I hear it.
He knew.
You got one song.
Come on, man.
One
He
song.
knows this.
Forget, I'm the only one with a platinum selling song right here. Have you ever had a rap song?
Hell no.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't rap.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Drop the mic.
So what is 10-year plan? I mean, I'm not saying
He doesn't
you gotta
know. He
have a
already
plan.
said that.
I understand that, but like, what would you're like? Oh man, that would be awesome. And I know you don't want to be an actor because they're stupid, and you're
No,
definitely
I
not
actually
stupid.
would, because it's so easy. Why not? Why not? I would love to be on a TV show or a movie that's good.
Yeah.
I've done shit that I'm like, this isn't good. And I've gotten auditions for stuff. I'm like, this sucks. I would love to do something that's good as long as it doesn't take me away from my podcast, because as I've gotten married and I think about kids a lot, and again, I don't want to sit here and talk like my marriage is bulletproof. It takes a lot of work, and I hope she and I will continue to do that. But I want to get to a point where we got that fuck you money, where we have freedom to do whatever we want, and then I'll still do whatever I want to do, but I am dedicated to you and hopefully kids, and we have freedom financially.
Right.
So I would love like that 8-9 figure podcast deal that some of these guys are getting, and then live in a place that we're like we both love being here. Our kids are gonna love being here, and we're happy with that.
Yeah.
I think more short term with career and more long term with family. I would love to catch both up to long term, but and I'm not saying it's by design. That's just how when you said it, I realized my goals with career are always short term. My goals with family are always long term.
Right.
And I don't know why that is, but family, when you ask me 10 years, I'm thinking about fuck you money, happy family. And then the career is obviously in a place that's amazing, but like, I don't have specific goals for that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue with that logic though, right? Family long-term, like that's what really ultimately truly matters.
Yeah.
And then, the career, again, do what you love, but it's always what you do.
Yeah.
It's not who you are.
Yeah. And it's like religious to me.
Yeah.
But I'm dishonoring my actual religion if I don't at least give my all to my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So bring back a boo.
Yeah. Bring
Talk
back
to
a
us
poo.
about that.
It kind of came from this idea. Like I said, I felt like a lot of what the Hollywood, what you're seeing in Hollywood is like, hey, woe is me. Here's my sob story. Hey, white people feel bad for me. Hey, white people, you guys are bad. And when Apu got taken off The Simpsons, there was a documentary that got put out. I don't want to bash the guy who made it, but the idea of it was like, yo, we really felt oppressed by Apu. Yo, Apu, I got made fun of because of this character on The Simpsons who owned the convenience store. But I wasn't oppressed. That wasn't oppression. That was bullying. And it's not great, but it wasn't oppression. And I just think we got lost somewhere in this race to be the biggest victim. That's like, look, we're not in that race. Black people won. Gay people, you somewhere in there. That's it. You know what I mean? The rest of us, we're doing all right. We're here.
You're fighting for bottom.
Mexicans, you gonna get there. It's, you know what I mean? You getting fucked up a little bit right now for sure. But like, what is if you're a Muslim, and then my wife said this, she's Sikh?
Sikh, yeah.
So her dad wears a turban, a bug. After 9/11, he went through shit. Yeah. Men who wear the turban and women who wear the hijab, Muslim women who wear the hijab, they go through oppression based on how they look.
Yeah.
The rest of us, you get made fun of, you get bullied, you get a little bit, but nothing. It's not oppression. It's not systemic racism. It's not this thing that we have to overcome in our lives. And I saw a lot of people racing to get currency and victimhood and try to use that as a career move. And that really bothered me. And it's like, look, I am for my people for sure, but I think now we get to craft our identity, and I don't want it to be that.
Right.
I don't want it to be, hey, look how we're victims, and everything has to be the most liberal thing on earth. Otherwise, it's evil. Don't touch it. So the idea of bring back Apu was like, I want to put 20 minutes out that kind of is themed around that. Let's not shit on white men all the time. White women for sure. I don't like you guys. And you guys, you deserve a little bit of flack now. And American privilege is like we should all look at us and say, yo, we're actually really lucky to be here. You know?
Yeah.
Agreed.
So.
And the Flagrant 2 podcast, find that anywhere?
Flagrant 2 podcast, you can find that anywhere. It's me, it's Andrew Schultz, who's one of the biggest comics in the world. It's a good friend of mine, one of my best friends on earth. So like, we just have fun. A couple other really funny guys in the podcast, Mark Gagnon, Alex Media. And we're four friends who just hang out and talk about things in a ridiculous way. And the idea,
yes, you do.
the idea of the podcast was we started talking sports because we knew people don't get that politically charged coming for sports. But we also knew that was like a cover for just the idea, which is if we're trying to be funny, it's okay. Right. And you might fuck up, but like you should have that space. And that's what the idea of the podcast is. Four friends hanging out, making crazy jokes.
I love it, man. I
Yeah,
love
go
it.
type in Flagrant 2 to YouTube. You'll see some crazy jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We in, bro.
For sure. We're going to get Darren on there. And I said this to you guys earlier. If he doesn't get
You said it's a funny
lot of
podcast.
hateful tweets, it's a funny podcast, and we will bring it out of him.
Yeah, see.
You come through too?
No,
We just got to find a chair
I'll
designed
be like
to
your
support
brother,
that
man. I was
muscle
gonna say, I'll
mass.
be like your brother, man. I'll sit and just.
We'll craft a chair designed for those fucking shoulders, for the sheer mass that you have, those thighs.
chair.
This guy got a lot of muscle, man. We got to get a special piece of furniture for that. But we'll come say some wild things.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the middle of 75 hard bends on the tail end of it, and my night workout run walk, man. That's my new podcast.
The
Flagrant 2
Oh,
podcast.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I should get caught up in no time.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for having me. This is an honor.
Man,
Again,
good.
when you DM me, it was the most surreal moment. I was like, it said Darren Woodson. I was like, there's no fucking way Darren Woodson in my DMs.
Wait a minute,
That's
there's
crazy.
a check.
Believe I looked for the check. And I was like, this is not a scam. This guy got a blue check.
Just out of curiosity, how many DMs do you get? Like, is it too
Yeah,
many?
I
to
was
even
gonna
look
ask.
at?
Yeah, I get a lot, and I want to like give you a real response, and I always fuck up because I'm like, I'll wait when I have like a little more time. I give them a real response, and then so many come in that I can't respond to any of them. I just get overwhelmed.
Right.
But I'll respond to Darren Woodson for sure. I literally said,
Don't
"This
tell
is
him that.
insane." Like
Don't
I
tell him
responded
that.
like I was talking to like myself. Like it was all just. I was like, "Dude, this is insane. Holy shit, yes." And then I said, "It's a crime you're not in the Hall of Fame." And I was like, "Why am I saying all this?"
Yeah, seriously. Why are you saying all this?
This guy doesn't know me.
Hey, we literally had to talk him off a cliff after that, by the way. That's a really sensitive subject. Thank you for bringing it up, by the way.
Hey, yo, that's a fucking crime, dude. Rick
Yes.
Goslin, do your fucking job, yo. Where you at? The fuck is this, man? You unemployed? You got time? Do something, freelance.
Rick, that's not me, Rick.
I see you be leaving the Cowboys off your greatest players of all time list. Don't think I don't fucking peep. Have some respect for the 90s.
Oh,
David, what he does though is you need to zoom right
right
into his
into
face.
him, yeah.
Come on, Goose. The fuck?
Man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
Akash.
guys, man.
Man, it's been special, bro.
Hey,
Awesome.
it's truly special.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. There's very few. I feel like I made it moments. This was one.
No, this is
Yeah,
Thank
we
you,
made
It's
it.
Nah,
mutual.
we made
appreciate
it, bro.
I know
Pretty
you
cool.
said that, but I was like,
Yeah.
nah, man, come on. This is.
Yeah.
Fucking, are you in Ring of Honor yet?
Oh, yeah, I'm in the ring. You should have seen
Oh,
that. You should have seen
please.
that. Fuck, dude. I'm offended you asked.
I don't go to the stadium. I don't want to watch losses.
You know, I'm
You know what I mean?
we're going to end on that note.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Akash. Man,
Hey.
serious, man. It means a lot, man.
Man, it means a lot to you,
Yeah.
for you guys. Thank you
It's
much
been great,
from you
man.
guys. Thank you.
Anytime you're in Dallas, please let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll be front row.
Yes.
Grab food at
With
the
the
very
free
least.
tickets that you
June,
provide.
I got tickets for you and your wives
Yes.
come through.
Awesome.
Yes.
Can't
I
wait.
love it.
Not even a question.
That'll be my first comedy show.
Beautiful.
Is that what you even call it? A comedy show?
If you were sitting in the front, we would have had a fun ass time, but I know you now, it'd be weird. But I would definitely pick on a white guy this way.
100%. We ain't sitting up front, dog.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I don't want it because I know you. But if
We're
I
on
didn't know
stage
you,
with you, right?
this is
We're-
just such a, you just have such a nice white guy look to you. Just a
God.
clean cut, fun white guy.
What do you
dude.
call me? Apple pie? Is that what you call me?
Nah, this guy,
Fucking
you're
vitamin
whiter,
D.
dude.
That's what I
He's-
call you. Need some vitamin D in your fucking.
That's the funniest. That's the craziest thing. I'm the most cultured person on this podcast.
You are
right
the
now.
most. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You said you don't speak Portuguese.
I
You
don't.
speak anything?
I'm as white as they come. I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Abilene Christian. Yeah.
Like you said, he's from Texas. Guaranteed in 3 guesses, you could name the city that he was from.
You said Abilene. right?
Abilene
Yeah.
would be in there for
Yeah,
sure.
Abilene or Lubbock would be my guesses, or
There you
Corpus
go.
Christi.
Now you're talking about God's
West.
country.
Yeah.
West.
All right, brothers.
Well,
y'all.
appreciate you.
Thank you guys. God bless.